Hey, what's up? It's cute what if this side. Today we will be seeing what if Deku was trained by Stain. Now before we move ahead with the fic, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future what ifs like this. No one POV. You can do this, Minoru, you can do this. Minoru breathed in and out. Mind-to-kun, please. I know you're nervous. However, I've seen what you can do. You can do it. Momo reassured him. Hehe, thanks Momo. He smiled to her. You're welcome. Now then, do you have a plan, she asked. Why are you asking me for a plan? You're the smart one out of the two of us. Minoru raised an eyebrow. Don't sell yourself short. Minoru's winced like he just got shot in the back. AGHHHSHORT. We are a team as of now and we should share ideas. So if you have thoughts, I'd like to hear them. Well, could you make some good earplugs? We'll need them for Jiru's sound attacks. Minoru said, ribbing his neck. Good idea, I was honestly thinking the same. She agreed, making 2 pairs of earplugs from her arm. Here, take these. Momo handed him a pair. Thanks, Mamuchan. Minoru smiled, placing the plugs firmly in his ears. That should save us some major hearing loss. Yes, though it may not completely protect us, they're good enough to avoid the full brunt of her attacks. Momo said. Okay, your turn, Mamuchan. Ah yes, well I figured maybe we could bunker in here with the weapon. Due to my quirk, I can barricade this room off. She explained. Huh, yeah that's true. Okay, let's bunker here. Mina gave a thumbs up. Excellent. She smiled and began to create steel barricades beams and began to attach them to the door. Say Mamuchan, he gained the girl's attention. Does it I dunno, feel weird having all that stuff grow out of you like that, he asked with a head tilt. It used to be a tad bit uncomfortable, especially with large objects, but I got used to it over time. She answered while still working. Ah okay, just curious. It's fine. Now indulge my curiosity. What's it like to have 2 quirks, she asked, turning her head back a bit. Well, the power-up quirk you saw me using in Aizawa's quirk test is a recent addition. He shrugged a bit nervously. A latent quirk. A rather rare occurrence. She looked surprised. Yeah, latent quirk. It came around 2 months ago. That right, well for just getting it recently, you do seem rather proficient with it. Momo said with an impressed tone. Not exactly. I mean, I do catch on to things a bit quicker. If I give something a few good tries, I can get the hang of it, or at the very least, get a basic understanding of it. Though first time I used this power, not gonna lie, straight up wrecked my arm. The backlash from this quirk is insane. Minoru winced, remembering the event as clear as day. Oh dear, that's horrible. Are you okay? She looked at him concernedly. Yeah, I'm fine. That was a while ago. Just was a hell of a lot more careful with this quirk. 5% is my limit. Only 5%. You were pretty amazing in the quirk assessment test. If that was only 5%, I honestly shudder to think about you at 1%. She smiled. This earned both a smile and small frown from Minoru. Yeah, I do too sometimes. He replied in a rather conflicted tone. Wise that she finished with the door and turned to him fully. It's kinda complicated. It's a bit hard to explain. Minoru shoved his hands into his pockets, while looking off. I see. Never mind then. I can see it clearly bothers you, so I won't push further. Momo said with a solemn expression. The next thing I want is for you to feel uncomfortable. Hehe, thanks Mamuchan. Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually just having a normal conversation with her. Had this been with the old me, yeah, rather not think on it. I'm back on track. What do we do if Jiru and Kaminari get past those barricades? Minoru asked, crossing his arms. Well, given the nature of their quirks, I doubt either one has the destructive force to do that. Momo answered. Yeah, I guess. Kaminari's probably not. However, I dunno about Jiru. Her sound blast could be pretty strong. Minoru retorted. Yes, you could be right, she said, cupping her chin. In that case, we would have to engage them in combat. Right, I guess you take one and I take one. Minoru stretched. Yes, that would be a smart choice. How skilled would you say you are in hand-to-hand Mind-to-kun? Not the best. I was never really much of a brawler. I can take a beating and dodge well. However, actually trading blows, that's a bit new for me. I've only recently started practicing actual fighting moves. Though I won't lie, a lot of them are moves I've gotten are from fighting games, all mashed together to try and form a fighting style. Moves like those are normally impossible for normal people or people without strength speed enhancing quirks. However, I have a quirk just like that, so I can actually pull them off. Also got a few personal tricks too. Minoru smirked, eager to show off all he's put together for all might to see. Well, as I wouldn't suggest using elements from video games in a real-life scenario, you do seem to know what you're doing. So I'll trust you. Momo smiles. Phew, a girl saying she trusts me. Again, new feeling. He smiled, pulling his yellow bandana over his mouth and nose. That's a nice accessory to your outfit. That big smile on it is very nice. Thanks, it was a small reference to my mentor. Their conversation was cut short by a loud boom and crash from the door. Wow, are they here already? Minoru jumped a bit and quickly got into a fighting stance. They Aryan that boom just now. That was probably Jiru's sound attack. It was more powerful than I thought. She spoke, making a metal shield and a long metal rod. Another sound blast hit the door and it caved in a bit and bending the metal barricades. That door won't hold long. Minoru focused and channeled One for All. One for All shroud red marks appear over Minoru's body, then vanish as his purple static aura appeared around him. Yeah, shroud sounds way cooler. Wait, focus. Minoru stood ready. Then with a final sound blast the door busted open and Jiru and Kaminari ran in. Now that's how you make an entrance, Kaminari smirked. Focus, Sparky. Jiru kept her eyes fixed on both Minoru and Momo. Surrender, villains, and you won't be harmed, Jiru said calmly but sternly. Never Yahiro scum. Momo tried sounding evil but wasn't very good at it. Let me try, Mama-chan. Ahem. Minoru took a breath. Come on then. If you've got a death wish, by all means, step up. Heh, this might fun. Minoru cracked his knuckles, quoting a past bully to sound tough. Oh yeah, short stack, I might step on you, Kaminari joked. Minoru's eye twitched. Okay, Mama-chan, you take Jiru. I get Blondie. Be careful, Mineta-kun. Kaminari's electricity will be dangerous if you get too close, Momo warned him. Don't worry, I got long range on my side. He smirked. After my energy attack at the entrance exams, I expanded on it all throughout the week waiting for my results. As I thought before I used it against that giant robot, I knew there was energy stored inside me due to One for All. I used that energy to amp up my body by surging it through me. So the thought came to me, could I expel that energy outwards? That answer came to a yes. However, my arms were kinda sore from that attack. All that energy I was pumping through my arms and out my hands to form that energy ball. The strain was a bit much, so I worked on that. I worked on the channeling and lowered the power output. Now I can do it without a lot of issue. Minor soreness but nothing serious. Minoru thought to himself. You do very well. Again, I'll trust you know what you're doing. Momo focused her eyes on Jiru. Jiru didn't waste any more time and launched a sound wave at Minoru and Momo. Minoru quickly zipped out the way while Momo just held up her shield. The sound wave hit her and pushed her back a bit, but she kept on her feet. The earplugs were working, but it didn't completely cancel out the sound waves, though it was enough to avoid significant damage. Kaminari charged at Minoru the second he stopped moving. Just gotta grab him, then I zap him, Kaminari thought. Minoru saw him coming and quickly dashed away at great speed. Ah crap, totally forgot this dude can move wicked fast. Kaminari gritted his teeth. Burst. Minoru's hand glowed a bright purple and he flung his arm. A small purple sphere of energy shot from his hand and flew at Kaminari. Wow, Kaminari of course wasn't expecting his attack and got hit with it, causing him to stumble back. Minoru kept the pressure and swung his other arm, resulting in another energy sphere being sent at Kaminari. The attack connected and sending Kaminari tumbling to the ground. Wow, check out the little dude go, Kirishima chanted. What was that? Didn't see him do that in the quirk assessment test. Mina looked amazed. It seems like he's improved on that skill a lot. It's only been a week since the exam. He learns quick. Izuku smiled. Oh boy, that move looks even cooler now than it did before, Achako said with joy. As Kaminari hit the ground, Minoru started chucking sticky balls at him and snaring him as he tried to get up. Ah man, geez, he struggled to get off the ground, but the sticky balls held. One down, one to go. Minoru looked over and Momo was being kept at a distance by Jiru, who kept blasting her back with sound blast. Minoru could see Momo needed an opening, so that's what he gave. He charged up 2 burst attacks and chucked them both at Jiru. Jiru only noticed in time to dodge one, before getting hit by the other and getting knocked off balance. Momo then took her chance and charged forward. She then swung her metal rod and slammed it into Jiru's knee, causing her to kneel forward. Momo followed up with a shield bash, sending Jiru crashing to the ground. Momo then placed her foot on Jiru's chest and placed the tip of her rod at Jiru's neck. You have been bested. Submit, she spoke in a cold tone. Jiru gritted her teeth when Momo brought her other foot down on one of her ear jacks. Both heroes are unable to continue the villains when All Might's voice boomed. Ah man, that sucked. Kaminari whined. You're telling me. Jiru groaned as Momo got off of her. Hey, for effort. Minoru smiled, trying to console them. This is the point of these tests. Trial and error to improve. Momo added. That is true. Thanks, Yuurazu. Jiru smiled, getting back on her feet and dusting herself off. Makes it a bit better, I guess. Aga GH, help please. Kaminari tried desperately to get free from Minoru's sticky balls. Hehe. You may be stuck for an hour or two. Minoru smirked nervously. WHAAT, Kaminari yelled. Hehe, rough break, Sparky. Jiru tried her best not to laugh at her partner's misfortune. Help, she shrieked. Okay, calm down. Jiro-chan, Mama-chan. Give me a hand, will ya? Minoru went over to assist Kaminari. Momo and Jiru joined as well. Quite the sticky situation, Izuku said with a smile. Midoriya-kun. No, just no. Achako face-palmed. Haha, I thought it was pretty funny, Kirishima laughed. I gotta say, didn't expect Mineta-kun to be so badass, Hanta added. Those energy attacks sure were a surprise. Toru spoke up. What can I say, he's very resourceful. Izuku said. Haha, very good, young Might, you as well, young Midoriya. You two deserve a personal pat on the back from yours truly later on, as well as an apology. All Might smiled to himself, looking toward Izuku. You're not your father. You're your own person, and I was a fool to doubt you solely due to your heritage. You will be a fine hero, and I plan to tell you this in person. All Might regained his resolve and overcame his fears of all for one. He had students to guide to be their best. No matter their background, he would shape them to be the future of this world. This was his promise and duty. He already let Midoriya down once. He would do so a second time. He swore it. He would be there for him. With Stain. Stain was currently walking to a large tree on a grassy hilltop within the forest he trained Izuku in. He wasn't dressed in his usual gear. Instead, he had on a simple black jacket, red scarf, a red undershirt, light blue jeans, and brown boots. However, he did keep 2 concealed knives in his jacket. He stayed as stoic as usual. However, as he reached the tree, his hardened and stoic face softened. There was a gravestone cross in front of the tree. On the stone it read, Tomo Akiguro, a bright light taken too soon. As he stopped right in front of the stone, Stain was now gone and the man behind the mask stood smiling. Chisholm. Hello, sister. He smiled warmly and sat down with his legs crossed. How are you? Chisholm asked, letting a pause of silence fill the air. Fine, I take it. Sorry I haven't visited in a while. I've been kinda busy. Though that's normally my excuse, but I really mean it this time. He laughed a bit. I've gone and taken up a pupil. At Izuku Midoriya. Chisholm looked down smiling. When I first saw him, he had risked his life to save someone in a situation that even pros were hesitating in. He didn't even think. He just acted and he succeeded. I knew from that moment, he was a true hero in the making and I had to help him reach his potential, to mold him into the hero he could be. Under my tutelage and would stay on the real path of a hero and not be strayed off by fakes. He growled and clenched his fists, but looking up at the tombstone instantly brought him peace and he calmed down. The boy was so shy, timid. However, he had a heart of gold and that's what kept him from giving up. No matter how hard it became. He wanted to be a hero not because he thought he needed to or wanted to. He wants to become a hero for others. With that in heart, he's grown so much. Chisholm spoke with such a proud tone. Izuku isn't quite other people I've met either. He's words. He really challenges my ideals and honestly makes me rethink my own views of life. At first, it honestly kinda pissed me off, but now, I welcome it, because it really allows me to really think about all I stand for and what it is I really value. I should thank him for that soon. He laughed, rubbing the back of his head. Geez. Listen to me ramble. Sorry, sister, though not like you'd mind. You'd always love listening to me talk. Even if it was about something boring. That was just the kind of person you were. There dawned a sad smile as he placed his hand on the gravestone. I miss you, little sister, and I'm okay. I'll come back soon and visit. I promise. He then pressed his 2 fingers to his lips and then pressed both fingers against the tombstone. Goodbye for now. The man then got back onto his feet and began to walk away. He spared one last look at the grave before waving goodbye with a big smile on his face. Chisholm turned and placed his hands in his pockets as he continued walking. His soft expression hardened back to his stone-cold stoic face. The mask was placed back on and Stain had returned. His thoughts then turned to his pupil Izuku. He wondered how well he was faring in school. In all honesty, he was worried others would fear his power. Though Izuku did just have this air about him, it just drew people in. As long as he had that going for him, that and his personality combined shouldn't make him too many enemies. He would hope, at least. Only time would tell. Either way it went, he would be there for Izuku, no matter what. Suuo, any idea what this is about? Might-kun, Izuku chirped as he and Minoru both walked to All Might's office. Your guess is about as good as mine, dude. The small boy threw his hands behind his head. I got no friggin' idea. I see, well, I'm sure we're in no kinda trouble. Izuku said. I could see me being trouble, but you seem like the Boy Scout type. Minoru looked up to him. Right, I'm just going to take that as a compliment. Izuku frowned a bit. I meant you're the kind of dude that follows the rules. Minoru smirked. Oh, yeah. That's me all right, he smiled nervously. The 2 young boys soon reached All Might's office and entered. Excuse me, All Might sir, Izuku called out. You all boss. Wish up, Minoru chirped. Ha, young Might and Midoriya come in. All Might gave a warm welcome. Happy to see you in better spirits than when we first met, All Might. Izuku smiled walking in. You 2 met before? Minoru asked as he followed. Yes, we did, young Maita. It wasn't the best encounter, but today, I plan to make up for it. All Might smiled. This made Izuku smile very warmly. I called you both here to congratulate you both and to tell you, young Midoriya. All Might then bowed his head. I am sorry, All Might said in a regretful voice. Sorry for what? Izuku tilted his head. For what I said to you that day. About whether or not you could become a hero even if you were quirkless. I told you to be more realistic. I apologize for that. Anyone should be able to become a hero if they try, and I know you will be an amazing hero, an amazing job out there. I am sorry, young man. Thank you, sir, thank you so much. Izuku wiped his eyes. Wow, talk about touching. Minoru smiled. Thank you for accepting my apology, young Midoriya. Now for you, young Maita. I'm very proud of your progress, not only that your newfound self-restraint. I haven't heard a single complaint about you yet. The large man smiled widely. Hey, thanks all boss. Though I will admit, hasn't been easy. Minoru smirked rather nervously. Are you some kind of troublemaker? Maita-kun, the green-haired boy raised an eyebrow. Well, kinda. I'll explain it to you later. Let's not spoil the moment with that baggage. Minoru rubbed the back of his neck. Trust me, we'd be here a friggin' day and a half. Ha, alright if you say so. Izuku patted his back. Midoriya, you have a strong and powerful quirk, and I know you'll use it to make a brighter future. Walk tall and proud, said All Might. Also, you 2 seem to be good friends. Oh well, we did help each other out at the entrance exams, and well, we just seem to get along. Izuku said, looking toward Minoru. Yeah, he just has that easy friend aura to him. Minoru smiled to him. It just draws people to him. Hahaha, indeed. A hero should feel friendly and approachable. You two should continue to be friends. I'm certain you two can help each push forward and lift each other up when things get rough. All Might said. That was already kind of the plan we made on day one. Minoru nudged Izuku with his elbow. Yes, we actually made a vow to watch each other's backs on the first day. Izuku confirmed. Very good, you two sure don't waste time, All Might cheered. Oh, trust me, I've had enough of that. Minoru looked down a bit, smiling sadly. Izuku placed a hand on his shoulder, gaining the smaller boy's attention. Izuku smiled warmly at Minoru, causing Minoru to smile back as warmly as well. Work hard, you both. Those bright futures you dream of just might be yours. All Might gave them both a good pat on the back. Now then, I'd like to ask Minoru. Your techniques are rather interesting. The one where you bounced around the room at high speed. Where did you get that idea? All Might pondered. That I got it from an idea I had with my sticky balls a while back. I had this idea where I could place my sticky balls all around a room and bounce from one to another like a pinball. I did it once, then never again, 'cause well, I'd pretty much never have a chance to set that up in an actually battle Suya. However, my new latent has made a lot of things that were impossible for me possible. He crossed his arms. So I thought of the same thing, just with my newfound speed and well. Boom, it worked. He laughed bashfully. Haha, now that's pretty funny. Izuku cackled as well as All Might. Well, as the saying goes, you never know unless you try, said All Might. They three all shared a laugh together and soon after said their goodbyes. As the two boys left, All Might couldn't help but smile. The future had never looked brighter. Whoa, well that sure was a fun high, Izubud, Minoru said to the green-haired bot as they walked down the hall. Yeah, it really was. Glad we did it. Same here. Now then. Wanna go grab some food, hang train, or all of the above? Minoru asked. I'm fine with whatever. Izuku replied. Rad, okay, how about we hit the ramen shop, then the arcade? That sounds neat, let's go, Izuku smiled. As the two chatted and made their way out the school, they spot two girls talking with each other. Upon closer approach they see it's Ryuko and Setsuna. Dude, it's those cuties from the first day. Minoru nudged the boy with his elbow, winking. Minta-kun. Izuku gave a stern look. Wait, come on dude. You know we gotta talk to him again. We got their attention from the first time. Minoru looked to him. What really? Izuku tilted his head. Dumb man, the green curly-haired one seemed to like you a lot, and I think the sliver-haired one took a shine to me. I think. Either man, look. They're curious about us now. Now we indulge that curiosity, we play it right. They'll be interested in us, and if we play our cards right, boom, we've got ourselves some girlfriends. Minoru smirked. Minta-kun, listen to me. I will have no part in this, if this is some kind of game you're playing. Someone's feelings are not to be treated like sport. Izuku crossed his arms. What? No dude, listen. Sorry if that sounded bad, okay, I mean just, let's keep talking to them. Get to know each other and become friends, and maybe, if things get a bit more intimate, then hey, that's pretty rad. Minoru explained carefully. Izuku stayed silent for a few moments but then sighed. Okay, I understand what you're saying. We just to get to know them better, and if things just so happen to get romantic, then it's a nice little bonus. Yes, yeah man, totally. Alright, very well. Let's do this, Izuku gulped. I'm not that good with flirty girls like Tageki-san or well girls in general. Before you say it, yes I have talked to Uraraka-chan but it's a bit shaky. Rubbed his arm nervously. Just take it easy man. Just, I dunno. Image her as someone you know. Maybe that'll work. Minoru shrugged. Okay, I'll try that. Minoru nodded and smiled. They then both walked up to the two girls' conversation. Ahem. Ladies. Minoru chirped. Setsuna turned her head and Ryuko did as well. Hey, well. Looky here, broccoli boy and grape boy again, Setsuna smirked. Salutations. Ryuko greeted, still with an expressionless face and monotone voice. Hey you two. Wish up, Minoru smiled. Nothing much. Me and Spooky here were just talking about what we think of our classmates thus far. Setsuna placed her hands on her hips with an ear-to-ear sharp-toothed grin. They are quite the lively and unorthodox rabble of people. However, that makes them quite fascinating. Ryuko said. The ones we like thus far is a blonde girl with horns named Pony, girl with orange and a ponytail named Itsuka. Setsuna added. We're still getting used to the others. It will take a substantial bit of time to do so for all of them. However, the task is not an impossibility. I look forward to seeing where these strings of fate will lead. Shall they bind us together or lead us down different branching path in this unfinished quilt that is our destinies? Ryuko spoke. Izuku and Minoru just looked very surprised. She had such a way with words. Haha, she got a fancy way of talking, and I gotta say I love it already. Setsuna chuckled. That she does. Izuku said in amazement. Geez, talking to her would never get boring. That's for true. Minoru added. Do you mean these words? Ryuko asked Minoru. Minoru was caught off guard. You said speaking to me would never be boring. Do you mean these words? She stared into his eyes with a calm gaze. Minoru gulped and nodded his head slowly. Yeah, I mean it. I mean, how could I not? You have such a cool way of talking, I'd listen to you for hours and stuff. Minoru tried his best to go with the flow. I see. I express sincere gratitude for your gracious words. She waited with a small smile. This really surprised Minoru. Did he actually say the right thing for once? Whoa, yeah. He got her to smile. Nice grape boy, Setsuna congratulated him. Hey, no problem. Minoru laughed nervously. Again, this was new for him. Hey, a hair twin. What's shakin' bacon? Setsuna winked at Izuku. And nothing's shaking. Well, I mean, just getting used to this school I guess is what's I'm shaking. Izuku tried so hard to keep it together. Haha, is still so cute. Thank you. You're cute too, Izuku said with a blush. Oh, thanks buddy. Setsuna coed. Just telling the truth. His calmed down just a bit. There you go dude, you're doing it. Well, an undeniable truth it is. She stroked her ego. I like you Midoriya-kun. We should totally hang sometime. Setsuna smiled. I would like to see more of you Mineta-kun. You have this curious aura to you. Ryuko said with her expressionless face back. Really? Izuku was taken back. We'd love to. How does this weekend sound? Minoru smirked. I'm free. Ryuko-chan. I do not believe I have any activities scheduled for this weekend. Then it's a date, Minoru chirped. Date? Izuku screamed with his face a blushing mess. You know what EFF it sure. Setsuna pumped her fist. I do not believe I have ever embarked on a date before. I will not deny. My expectations are rather high, which is rare. Ryuko spoke with a small glimmer of excitement in her eyes. Awesome, said Minoru. Wait, hold up, Izuku tried to interject. Is anyone even listening to me? Alright, see ya boys, I'm out. Setsuna flashed a peace sign and skipped off. Ryuko only waved goodbye and walked off as well. Right, they're not. Izuku face-palmed mentally. Dude, we just scored dates. 3, Wagyu are impossible. Izuku hung his head. Don't sweat it dude. You got some time to prepare and I'll help you too. Minoru crossed his arms smiling arrogantly. For some reason I feel like taking dating advice from you isn't very wise. Izuku lifted his head with a raised eyebrow. Minoru's smile faded quickly. Yeah, can't really say you're wrong there. He agreed, cringing. I may need to ask for advice myself. He rubbed the back of his head. Us both. Oh wow, that happened so fast. My heart is pounding. Izuku held his chest. Sorry about that dude. Was kinda in the moment. Minoru apologized. It's okay, I mean hey. I just got my first date. Izuku smiled, trying to look on the brighter side of things. Me too, I've taken my first step out of loserdom, said Minoru. Loserdom? Oh. Mineta-kun, please don't say that. You're not a loss. I am Izuku. Minoru looked away with his tone dropping. Izuku was surprised by him using his first name and was also off-put by his somewhat depressed tone. I am a loser because I chose to be one. Minoru turned away fully. I've been given a chance to finally remove that label I put on myself. Until I do so, I'm still a loser. A journey isn't finished in a few steps. His fist clenched. I've only take baby steps. I've got a hell of a long way to go from here. He looked down. Izuku remained silent. This scene before him hit hard. In ways, he saw himself in the way Minoru was presenting himself right now. Izuku had thought he was a loser and was always destined to be one. He put himself down for so long thinking he'd never be any good but still held on to a fleeting hope. A hope he could rise above his circumstances. Eventually that day came and he couldn't be happier. However, Minoru here has great skill and power and yet, he still feels miserable. Confused and saddened, Izuku did the only thing he could think of. Without warning, Izuku knelt down and embraced Minoru from behind. Minoru's eyes widened at this. Was Izuku hugging him? Why so many thoughts passed through his head, but he did not stop Izuku. He simply let it be. For some odd reason, he wanted this to last a bit longer. Okay, if that's what you believe. Then fine, but you're not alone and I'll be here to help you. Izuku spoke in a soft and supporting tone. Minoru remained silent and a faint warmth came from his heart. Minoru slowly brought up one hand and placed it on one of Izuku's arms. Thank you, Izuku. He tightened his hand. Thank you. He closed his eyes. It's in my nature. He smiled. After a few seconds, Izuku released Minoru. Minoru then turned to smile at Izuku. Sorry I killed the mood with that gloomy crap. Minoru said. It's called being human. We all have our inner demons, but that does not make us less. Izuku reassured. Haha, man, I swear you're some kind of guru or something. Minoru smirked. I'm not. I just speak from experience. Izuku smiled too. Well, you must have been through a lot. Oh, you have no idea. However, let's not get into that. We'd be here for a couple of days. Izuku joked. Yes, screw that noise. Minoru laughed. Thanks again, man. Really. Now let's go get us some food. Yes, I'm really hungry after today. Izuku rubbed his growling stomach. Well, I'd bet using all those quirks can get tiring. Minoru added. Yeah, it can, however I'm working on it. Same story over here with mine. Minoru rolled his eyes. How, again? Aren't we a pair? Izuku said. Yes, we are. They both shared a laugh. Them headed off for ramen together and they both say their bond grew one sizes that day. A warp gate over the water area of the UJS opened up over a large boat, and out from it Izuku, Tsuyu and Minoru dropped down from it and landed onto the boat. Damn it, Izuku cursed. That's my line, Minoru whined as he rubbed his bottom from landing on it. Ugh, I busted my ass. I think a busted butt is the least of your concerns right now, Mineta-kun, ribbit. Tsuyu said, staring out into the water. Oh really, no shit, Sherlock. Giving how literally all hell just broke loose, Minoru yelled. Mina please, Izuku shouted. Sorry. I'm just really freaking out right now, sorry Tsu. He hung his head as he stood up. It's okay, ribbit. However, like I said, we have more pressing matters, she said, pointing out to the water below them. Izuku and Minoru both looked out over the boat to see the crowd of water villains gathering up in the water around the boat. Oh man, oh damn, oh shit, oh fuck, not good, Minoru panicked. That sure is a lot of them. Maita, leave this one to me and Tsu. Maita, you may need to save your strength. Me and Tsu can handle this one together. He placed a hand on the smaller boy's shoulder. Are you sure we can take all of them, Midoriya ribbit? Tsu tilted her head. Yes, we can. Just stay close and follow my lead, Tsu, and we'll get through this. Izuku assured her, which earned a silent nod from her. Maita, you stay here and we'll be right back. Maita wanted to argue, but something was stopping him. Was it fear? That's what it felt like to him. Maita would admit he's not the bravest of souls out there, but after coming this far already, why was he backing down now? He was so lost, and though he hadn't even noticed Izuku and Tsu leap off the boat. Again, follow my lead and stay close, Izuku said as they neared the water. Ribbit. Izuku nodded and forms both arms into missile shooters and amp his missiles with kinetic energy. He rained missiles from above as he and Tsu fell. The villains quickly dived down, but a few weren't so quick and got blasted. Right when Izuku and Tsu hit the water, Izuku transformed into a large green leviathan-like sea monster. Tsu and the other villains went wide-eye at this. Tsu, attack and stay close, Izuku spoke as he continued to fire missiles at the aquatic villains as they swam around to dodge him. Tsu took this as her chance to grab a few with her tongue and swing them over to Izuku so he could tail bash them. Izuku channeled kinetic force through his tail for more damage. Tsuyu clung to Izuku while using her tongue to snag and drag some villains trying to blindside or flee Izuku's barrage of attacks. The two made a great tag team while Minoru was still gathering his thoughts back on the boat. I guess why I haven't backed down yet was because none of it was for keeps, he thought. I mean, there was no real urgency or life on the line stuff thus far. But that's not right. When I saved Mount Lady from the crowhead guy, I was ready to die for her. He pinched the bridge of his nose. What's different now? Minoru let out a loud yell of frustration. Izuku and Tsuyu emerged from the water and back onto the boat as he shouted. Are you okay? Izuku asked, concerned. You guys are back already, Minoru stuttered. Yeah, they weren't very strong, ribbit. She walked over to him. Are you okay? Why, yeah, just agfuck. Minoru placed his face into his hands. This is so fucked, man. This is real. This is really happening right now. He started to panic again. Izuku knelt down and shook him back and forth. Izuku shouted to him. Minoru's eyes stood at attention. Listen, I know you're freaked out right now. I am too. However, there's too much at risk here to panic and fall apart. Our friends need us. Izuku gazed deep into Minoru's eyes. Minoru stayed silent. God damn it, he's right. Come on, Minoru, you've taken on so much responsibility. You can't do this right now. Not now or here. Minoru slapped his own cheeks. Get it together. Just deep down and find that hero from within. You channeled him once on that fateful day. It's time for an encore. Minoru took a deep breath and placed the All Might smile bandana over his mouth and nose. He then cleared his mind, allowed a more heroic persona take over. If he was going to do this, he couldn't be him at the moment. He needed to be what his friends needed. Maybe another time the real him would grow strong enough to face anything, but until then, he needed a mask. A mask that shielded him from the world and hid his fear. Okay, let's go, you two. Aizawa needs us, Minoru shouted out with a smirk edged onto his face. Oh wow, you're fired up now. Ribbit. Tsu's voice had a slight tone of surprise. Well, Tsu, there are people who need us. No time to not be fired up now then. No more talk, let's charge ahead full speed. Minoru pumped his fist. Okay, Izuku smirked and grabbed a hold on Tsu and Minoru. Ready for takeoff. Izuku then hopped into the air and flew in the air and approached the beach area where Aizawa was facing the villains alone. When they neared the scene, they came just in time to see Aizawa get a bit of his arm decayed by a villain covered in hands. Aizawa winced in pain and erased the villain's quick and swiftly roundhouse kicked him and jumped back few inches to gain distance. However, unknowingly to Aizawa, a large purple hulking villain loomed over him ready to strike. Tsu, Izuku shouted. Ribbit. Tsu's tongue shot forward and wrapped around Aizawa's waist and yanked him back away from the giant brute's upcoming attack and toward the group. What are you three doing? I told you to stay by. Izuku quickly Aizawa off. Sorry sir, but that is an order we cannot obey. We will not sit back and let you die. We're fighting and that's final. I would suggest not trying to argue. We haven't the time. Izuku said firmly, giving Aizawa an unrelenting stare of determination. Sorry, but we have to help. There's justice to do, Minoru said as they all landed and Izuku let them all go. Just support us from here, Aizawa-sensei. Do us a favor. Erase this big guy's quirk, whatever it is. Make it easier for me and Minda too. Take him down. Tsu, can you stay with Aizawa and have his back? His arms is pretty messed up right now. Izuku said. Tsu nodded. Be careful, guys. Ribbit. I can't believe I'm going along with this, but yes, you two better be careful. That other guy decayed a bit of my arm. I can't really move it well. If he jumps in, don't let him get near you. Also, I'll try to keep that other one's quirk disabled if I can. He has these rifts can use to warp things or people. Aizawa informed them. Yeah, we know. He separated a whole lot of us across the USJ. However, we were all separated in groups, so I don't think anyone is alone. Right now. I could be wrong. Either way, we need to hurry and deal with these guys so we can hurry and help the others. We can take this chump. Minoru pounded his fist on his chest. Yes, but don't underestimate him, and those other two could jump in at any moment. Izuku said, cracking his knuckles. Don't worry, I won't, because, truth be told, I'm scared as hell right now, but damn it, it's do or die. Good, now then. Shall we get going? Izuku's teeth and claws grew sharper and longer. His eyes become wolf-like as well. One for all. Full shroud purple static formed around Minoru. Ready, set, go. Izuku looked to Aizawa quickly. Aizawa gave a nod and Izuku smiled and activated his Icarus quirk and dashed ahead. Game time. Minoru dashed ahead along with Izuku as well. Okay, whatever crazy quirk this guy might have, we gotta play it smart, fast and strong, Izuku thought to himself as he zoomed to the left. Aizawa quickly activated his quirk, erasing whatever quirk the beast may have waiting. Izuku barely dodged a swing from the beast as it swung at him as he closed in. He's fast. Izuku swiftly amped his hand and claws with kinetic energy and slashed the villain's side, making a deep gash. The beast roared in pain and thrusted its fist forward, and Izuku crosses his arms and blocks the strike. Izuku absorbs the kinetic force as he's sent sliding back on his feet. He's strong. Izuku recovered just to see the beast be staggered by 4 purple energy shots from Minoru as he charged forward at the beast. As Minoru ran up to big hulking villain, it raised its fist and swung it down at Minoru, but he leaped high into the air, dodging the blow. Izuku followed up with a flurry of swift kicks while the beast was distracted. The speed his legs could move combined with the kinetic force boost was enough to stagger and damage the beast considerably. Minoru looked down as he was still in the air and looked this chance to throw down a ton of sticky balls down on the beast, but also making sure not to hit Izuku. He was always a good shot and hit his mark, successfully sticking multiple balls onto the beast. Izuku gave the beast one good power kick, causing the beast to stagger back. Izuku quickly flew high in the air toward Minoru as he fell, and Minoru landed on Izuku's shoulders. Light him up, Minoru yelled out as he charged 2 burst attacks in his hands. Right, Izuku responded, turning both his hands into missile launchers and aiming down at the beast as it tried to recover. However, right when they were about to open fire, a warp gate appeared below them but quickly vanished, as Aizawa took his gaze off the beast to stop the warp villain's quirk. Izuku and Minoru then proceeded to hail the beast with energy shots and kinetic amp missiles. After a few seconds of bullet hell, Izuku floated down to the ground as they watched the dust settle. Nice work, Minoru. Izuku smiled and Minoru jumped off Izuku's shoulders. Of course, ally of justice, good job yourself. Minoru placed his hands to his hips, still donning his hero persona. Wow, that was pretty amazing, Ribbit, Sue said in awe. Yes, it was, however. I get a feeling it's far from over. Damn it. Ida, hurry. Aizawa cursed. Heads up, Minoru. I don't think it's over just yet. Izuku took his stance again. Why am I not surprised? Let him come again, we can do this. Minoru slammed his fist into his palm. When the dust settled, the beast was standing tall and its wounds began rapidly healing. A regeneration quirk, this can't be good, Izuku said with eyed eyes. Wonderful. No, really. Just keeps getting better. That doesn't faze me. Justice will find a way, Minoru chipped in. His quirk isn't just regeneration. He can also absorb the shock of any impact. This beast was created to kill All Might. You two pests don't have a chance. The decay villain spoke. You've gotta be kidding. Aizawa gritted his teeth. I see. Thanks for telling us. Those quirks will be an issue. This fight will end quicker if I take them. Though I'll need something to keep him still. All those sticky balls Minoru got on him. Izuku looked to Minoru. Minoru, all we need to do is knock this guy over. Then he'll get stuck to the ground due to your sticky balls. Then I swipe his quirks. However, this guy is hard to knock down. Minoru looked down at his hands and clenched his fist. My arm's gonna be sore later on and in the morning, but there's too much on the line here to hesitate, Minoru said. Okay, Izuku, let's give him one grand slam attack. I'm gonna have to push my quirk a bit more because of how strong this guy is. Be careful, Minoru, this could backfire on you, Izuku warned. I know, but I'm willing to risk it. So have my back. Okay, Minoru got into his stance. Izuku smiled and nodded. Okay, you two, I'm ready to go again. Aizawa spoke out to them. You two go get him, Ribbit, Sue said. Right, thanks Aizawa, Sue. Ready, Minoru, Izuku asked. Minoru took a breath and gripped his right wrist and charged a burst attack. I'm ready. Minoru arched forward, ready to kick off the ground. Okay, Minoru, let's go. Izuku sped ahead with his Icarus quirk as he followed close to Minoru. Izuku spawned a decoy and it leaped forward at the Namu. The beast threw a punch at the decoy, but it turned into sludge and wrapped itself around the beast, allowing Izuku and Minoru to get close up without much issue. Izuku put both his hands together and forward toward the beast, and Minoru aimed his overcharged burst attack directly at their foe as well. Aizawa quickly used his quirk on the Namu as well to cancel its shock absorption. Freezing eruption, Izuku shouted. Burstbuster, Minoru yelled out. Izuku then released a full power ice explosion amp up with kinetic force from both hands, and Minoru fired a big blast of stored power. Both attacks slammed into the beast and decoy. The decoy was obliterated, but the Namu was also damaged and thrown back and flopped on the ground and onto its back, and just as planned, their foe became stuck to the ground due to all the sticky balls Minoru had landed on it. Do your thing, Izuku, Minoru shouted. Izuku gave a quick nod and quickly pounced onto the Namu, placing his hand on his head. His hand glowed black and green static around, dancing around it as he drained the beast's quirks from it. I get him, monster is depowered, Izuku said to Minoru. What? Shigaraki outbursted. You heard me, your monster's quirks are gone. Izuku glared as he leaped off the beast as it still struggled to free itself. You've lost and you're next. Minoru walked up next to Izuku glaring as well. Why you this is cheating, how can you do this, the villain roared. Yeah, like I'm gonna tell you. Izuku rolled his eyes. End of the line, evildoer. Minoru cracked his knuckles. Shigaraki, we have to retreat. No, Kirigiri pleaded with Shigaraki. No, the crazed villain scratched at his neck furiously. This was supposed to be our ace against the end boss and the grunts take it out before boss even gets here. This is so unfair, he screamed and wailed. Child, Izuku scoffed. Funny how you talk about unfair when you have no issue with kids who have never hurt you being killed. Izuku added. Funny, that's an odd word for sad. Minoru chipped in. I'll kill you, he will kill you. Shigaraki became ready to lunge for them, but right as he did, Aizawa quickly used his quirk on him. But, unfortunately, he had reached his limit and had to close his eyes for a few seconds. Kirigiri used this chance to quickly warp himself and Shigaraki out of the USJ. Say whatever. We have more pressing matters. Izuku shook his head. Yeah, we gotta go check if everyone else is okay or are in danger. Minoru said. Yes, that's the top priority. Also sorry, I couldn't last longer. Aizawa said to them. Don't be Mr. Aizawa. You helped out a lot. Ribbit, Sue said to him. She's right, boss man. Thanks a lot. Minoru gave a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Izuku bowed. Sigh, thank me later. Now let's hurry. And before he could finish, the doors to the USJ bursted open and from it stood All Might and the staff of UA as well as Iida. Haha, they made it, Izuku cheered. Took them long enough. Minoru sighed and quickly noticed a female villain with whips for hair creeping up behind Izuku. I see you. Izuku swiftly spun around and throat chopped the villain, stealing her breath and spin kicked her away. Right, I forgot you're basically a ninja. He rubbed the back of his neck. Looks like the villains Aizawa knocked out are coming too. Sue looked around at the villains sprawled out across the ground recovering. Well then, they got a knuckle sandwich with a side of pain fries with a Justice smoothie waiting for them. Minoru stood ready. Just then a group of them were flung into the air like rag dolls as All Might appeared before them. Ha, I am here and it seems like you all had things quite under control, the man laughed. All Might. Minoru smiled behind his bandana. Sigh. Finally. Aizawa let out a breath relief. Sorry I took so long, Aizawa. All Might looked repentant. Forget it for now. I can yell at you later once we've cleaned up here. He ran a hand through his hair. Heh, sure. Not looking forward to it, but sure. Now then, why don't you all head up to the exit, we can take it from here. All Might said as he faced the other villains gather up. Izuku and Minoru stood up next to him. Actually, we can take these guys. You should go knock out the big purple monster stuck to the ground. He was a big issue for us. Izuku said, gripping his sword. What he said, seriously, go give that guy a nap. Not sure how much longer my sticky balls are gonna hold him. Are you sure? All Might asked. Couldn't be any more sure. Izuku assured. Please do it. Minoru pleaded. Very well then, let's go beyond. All Might gripped his fists. Plus Izuku unsheathed his sword. Ultra Minoru kicked off the ground along with All Might and Izuku as they took on the villains together. You think they'll be okay, Ribbit? Sue asked Aizawa. Pretty sure they're fine. He answered, seeing a villain get sent flying over them. Oh, and do you think 13 will be okay? Sue looked a small bit worried. 13 is tough. They'll be okay. I promise. Aizawa reassured her. With that, the staff took care of the rest of the villains and the students were all gathered back up safely. Except for Aizawa and 13. No was severely harmed. The students were immediately sent home afterwards. Both Izuku and Minoru were at a loss on how they were going to explain this to their parents, and the staff of UA will sure have a hell of a time doing the same. However, everyone made it out alive, in one piece and okay. Although the bigger picture loomed over the staff of UA more than anything. How did this happen? And right under their noses they would most certainly have to call a meeting to discuss this, but for now they needed to clean up and secure things. They could all tell this was just the start of something bigger. Izuku and Minoru sure had a hell of a time explaining the whole incident to their parents, but not as bad as the school's staff had to have had it. The two already felt bad for them. They have to deal with angry parents and hounding media. There was one thing they could both say for sure. They sure as hell didn't want to be in their shoes. Izuku's POV. It took me a while to calm down my mother. I got a massive bear hug and was bombarded with questions of am I okay and is there anything broken or wrong. I gotta tell you, I love my mother to death, but seriously, she's gonna give herself a heart attack worrying this much. Father was completely calm seeing I was okay. That was expected of him, but he did double check if I was 1% okay. That's dad for you. Always keeps his composure, but I could tell in his eyes that he was worried as well. After I managed to get everything settled and straightened out with them, I quickly called my master and asked him to meet up at our usual spot. I had to let him know about this as soon as possible. I made it to our spot in no time at all, but as expected, Chisholm was already here. He smiled at me and I smiled back and quickly walked up to him. Master, I bowed with a smile. Chisholm chuckled a little and patted the boy's head. You don't have to be so formal when we're not training, Izuku. He bore a faint smile as well. Ah, right. Hehe, sorry Chisholm. Force of habit. I nervously rubbed the back of my head. Don't worry about it. So what did you want to talk about? Chisholm crossed his arms. I looked off a bit and took a deep breath. He was not going to be happy to hear this. The USJ was attacked by a large group of villains. I spoke with as straight of a face as I could. I could already see the stoic look on his master's face turn serious and vicious. Go on, Chisholm said with calm fury. I didn't like seeing him like that. I gulped and continued. They had somehow not only got by security, but also disabled communications for us too. I explained as best as I could. Were any of you or any of your classmates injured? Chisholm asked with a rather sharp tone. No, not really. However, 13 and our homeroom teacher Aizawa got hurt pretty bad. 13 certainly got the worst of it, and Aizawa got a bit of his arm decayed off. However, I heard they're going to be okay. Me and my new best friend Minta were able to stop the big monster that was the major threat. I said. Big monster? Chisholm raised an eyebrow. Oh yes, there was this big purple monster that was as strong as All Might according to the boss villain that was controlling it. He says it was made specifically to kill All Might. In fact, the entire attack was a plot to end All Might. However, All Might didn't come with us on the way there, and get this. This monster thing had multiple quirks like me. I said to him. Chisholm looked off. He didn't like one bit of what he was hearing at all. Ugh. Petty villains who chase petty dreams. They all have no place in this society. Those who would even spill the blood of young innocents for petty goals are like sick animals, all of them, and just like any sick animal, they need to be put down. Chisholm snarled. I flinched a bit. Master, please calm down. I spoke softly, trying to calm him down. Chisholm noticed Izuku's expression and quickly took a breath to calm himself. I'm sorry, Izuku. This just angers me to no end. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I understand too, Chisholm. It makes me angry too. I said. Sigh. This beast, with multiple quirks like you. Explain that a bit more. What else was there about it? Chisholm asked. Well, I don't know much really. The boss did run his mouth about it a little. Apparently it was created somehow. It was super strong and fast even without a quirk. However, from what I could tell, it only had 2 quirks. A quirk that allowed it to absorb the shock of impacts and super regeneration. I then pulled out my notebook and showed a sketch and info I made on the creature. Something like this was made that both intrigues and concerns me. Chisholm gave a sharp look. It scares me, in all honesty. That thing was just a mindless beast that followed that creepy guy's orders. I shivered a bit. Well, if there's one, there's more than likely more. I should look into this. If what you say is true, then this could spell trouble for the future. Chisholm spoke. Chisholm, if you're going to do that, then please accept this from me. I held up his hand and a red and black blob of energy formed in my hand. Let me give you a quirk I got from that creature. I said. You did recently tell me that your father had informed you that you could transfer quirks to others. However, I do not need it. Thank you though. Chisholm waved his hand. Master, please, you can't do it all alone back there at the USJ. I realized anything can happen. And that powerful villains still exist out there even with All Might around. My voice turned grim. I could tell Chisholm noticed the dread in my voices and kept silent to listen. If you try to go after them alone, I want you to be as prepared as possible because I can't imagine losing you. Chisholm, you've taught me so much and helped me grow so much. It rips my soul apart to even imagine not seeing you again. So please, accept my gift. I stared into his teacher's eyes with frightened and pleading eyes. No one's POV. Chisholm could only stare back at his student. The way Izuku looked at him, it reminded him so much of his sister. So much Chisholm, without even realizing it, reached his hand to Izuku and placed his hands upon his head. Master, Izuku looked surprised. Chisholm stayed silent and took a deep breath. If you feel that strongly about it, then I shall. Chisholm smiled. Izuku's face donned a bright and happy expression. Thank you, Chisholm. It's just I still have ways to go and I want you to keep teaching me. I see. You know, I hadn't even realized our bond had become so strong. Because now, thinking of leaving you behind hurts my heart as well. If that is your wish, Izuku, I'll be careful so I can continue to train you. Chisholm ruffled the boy's hair. Izuku chuckled and looked down. That means a lot to me. Thank you. I promise I'll make you proud, Izuku said with fire in his eyes as he looked back up. I already am proud, but I don't mind being prouder. Heh. Chisholm chuckled. Haha, I guess so, alright, just stand still, okay. Izuku reached his hand up to Chisholm's head. Chisholm nodded and stayed very still. Izuku then placed his hand upon his master's head and his hand glowed red with red and black static around it as he transferred a quirk over to Chisholm. The man felt an odd sensation wash over him as the quirk was transferred to him. The process only took a few seconds and Izuku removed his hand. They're all done. That went well for a first try, Izuku smiled nervously. How do you feel? Izuku asked. Fine, really. Chisholm crossed his arms. That's good anyways. The quirk I transferred to you is the super regeneration one from that monster. Izuku explained. I see. 1 second. Chisholm pulled out one of his combat knives and slit his thumb a bit. He focused and concentrated and the wound quickly closed. Now that will do perfectly. Chisholm smiled a little. Haha, that's good. With that plus your other quirk and skills, you'll be an even more formidable opponent. Izuku smiled with sparkles in his eyes. Indeed I will. However, moving on. There's something else that bugs me about this whole thing. Chizome's tone turned serious. What Izuku asked uneasily. How exactly did these villains pull this attack off from what you've told me? They were able to not only bypass the USJ's security, they also were able to jam communications, and even know that All Might was going to be there. That sounds far too convenient to be done solely on their own without some sort of inside knowledge or help. Chizome frowned. Izuku's eyes widened and looked down. Hadn't really thought of it like that, and Chizome did kinda have a point. What are you suggesting? Izuku asked. Either these villains are stronger and smarter than we think, or Orue has a traitor among them. Chizome spoke in a grim tone. Izuku's heart skipped a beat at that. I don't which one is worse. Izuku dreaded a bit. Of course this is just highly speculation, Chizome said to calm Izuku down. Izuku took a breath and calmed himself. Sorry, master. Just the thought of a traitor just really scared me. Like, how could a hero do something so horrible? Izuku cringed. Not all heroes are pure of heart, Izuku. Just like anyone else, they can be corrupted and lead down a darker path. However, I do believe pure ones exist. They're rare, but they exist. The man smiled. Izuku found comfort in his master's smile and fully regained his mellow composure. Yes, they do, you just have to look. Izuku smiled. Yes. So you've told me time and time again. Haha, I feel you teach me as much as I teach you. It's rather amusing. Chizome leaned his head back. Really? Izuku was caught off guard by this. Yes, really. You really do give me a lot to think about when it comes to my own ideals, and from that I realize and work on the flaws in them, thus bettering myself so I can be a better teacher for you. For that, I thank you, Izuku. You truly are a star student. I'm glad I took you under my wing. Chizome patted Izuku's shoulder. Izuku was so overcome with joy he immediately embraced Chizome. The man was taken back by Thish wasn't one for physical affection but didn't mind it because it was Izuku. Chizome then slowly embraced the boy as well. I'm happy to hear that. I've always wanted to repay you for getting me this far. I'm glad to know I've been repaying you all this time, Izuku said happily. You've done a hell of a lot more, but thank you, Izuku. Now then, what say we go for some food? I'm in the mood for some takoyaki, Chizome said, breaking the hug. Oh, that sounds nice. Yeah, let's go, Izuku cheered. Chizome chuckled and walked off, and Izuku followed smiling. Something is going on in this city, and whatever it is, UA is right in the middle of it, Chizome thought to himself as he walked. He clenched his fists thinking of what sick schemes were being made in the dark shadows of this city. Whatever it was going to make sure Izuku was ready to face them and that he would be there to help him face them as well. He swore it. With Minoru. Bye. Sorry I'm late, boss. I had to get my mom to stop hounding me about the incident. Minoru rubbed the back of his head as he walked over to All Might, who was in his weakened state. They both agreed to meet up at the beach once they were both free. Hey there, kiddo. Also, you can just call me Toshinori while I'm like this, Toshinori said. You got it, man. Suo was up. Did you want to talk about something? Minoru said, shoving his hands into his pockets. Yes, I did. It's about your progress thus far, young Minta. Toshinori crossed his arms. I just wanted to say, I'm very pleased with how you've progressed. Not only did you keep it together in a dire situation you hadn't been prepared for, you showed such spirit when fighting as well. I'm proud of your mental and physical growth. Toshinori smiled. This brought a smile to Minoru's face, causing him to look away. However, the smile suddenly turned a bit sad. Well, I wasn't completely in control back there. I won't lie, boss, I kinda panicked at the start and kept on panicking while Izuku and Tsuyu took care of the sea villains surrounding us on that boat. I only snapped out of it because Izuku snapped me out of it and got me to calm down. Minoru looked down at his feet with a repentant stare. Izuku's the one who took charge. I kinda followed his lead, Minoru said with a disheartened voice. I see. Well, I don't blame you, Maita. I'm sure it was a pretty sudden and traumatic experience. I'm sure many of the other students panicked as well. Don't beat yourself up about it. The fact you got it together in the end and fought side by side with your allies is still good enough in my eyes. Toshinori placed a hand on the smaller boy's shoulder. Minoru looked up at his mentor with confused eyes. Really, I thought you'd be kinda let down for me not being fearless. Minda, now that would just be unreasonable of me to expect from you or anyone else. No one is fearless. Only a fool fears nothing, Toshinori said to the boy with a stern yet comforting voice. I have my own fears as well, and so do other heroes. However, we smile and face our fears to grow stronger and move forward. Toshinori smiled. Minoru couldn't help but smile. He was relieved to hear those words. Thanks, boss. Really, that kinda had me stressed out. Minoru laughed nervously, rubbing his neck. Don't worry about it. You're doing better than I thought you would have. I'm honestly impressed on how far you've come with One for All, Toshinori said, placing his hands on his hips. Well, the full shroud idea was pretty easy, to be fair. I mean, you saw what happened when I used 1% for a test run. Minoru cringed, remembering that day. Yeah, I do. Your arm was totaled. Thank goodness for recovery, girl. Toshinori chuckled. Yeah, thank God for her. So yeah, since I can't handle 1%, the only real logical choice is to use much less power. Start off at the lowest and slowly go up and see where the limit is. Simple really, and why only use it in my arm? Might as well try my whole body while I'm at it. Minoru shrugged. The other stuff, like my fighting style and burst attack, were heavily inspired by video games and anime. Well, expect for the bouncing around super fast like a pinball tactic. That was inspired by something I tried doing with my hairballs one time. Minoru looked off. And what was that? Toshinori asked curiously. Well, know how I bounce off them? Well, I wondered how far I could push that. So I tried setting them all around my room and tried to bounce from one to another. Minoru explained. Did it work? Toshinori tilted his head. Yes and no. It worked, but I couldn't stop myself. Minoru cringed, reliving the memory. Toshinori cringed as well, imagining it for himself, and it was not pretty. Yeah, and my mom had gone out that day, Suo. I was there for a willy, and let's just say a hole had to be patched up after that. Minoru sighed, rolling his shoulders. Say no more. Say no more. I can paint a picture. Toshinori waved his hand dismissively. Heh. Minoru chuckled. Well, it was a great idea. In fact, that tactic reminds of an old friend of mine. Toshinori said, rubbing his chin. Really? Who? Minoru looked curious. Someone you'll meet soon enough. Toshinori smirked. Okay, well, that's not eyebrow-raising at all. Minoru looked at Toshinori with a suspicious look. Toshinori then transformed back to All Might and stood tall. Ha, do not worry, young Maita. Now I'm worried, Minoru said quickly. All Might laughed again and patted the boy's back. Now then, let's run some laps, my dear boy. Spraying sweat is the glory of youth. Oh sure, I need a good distraction. Minoru marched in place a bit. That's understandable, you did just go through a lot. All Might replied. Well, that and training is pretty much my go-to distraction, Sue. You know. I don't slip back into old habits. Minoru winched a little. So I'm guessing this is your distraction mechanism. All Might crossed his arms. Yuha, whenever those thoughts come to mind, I just work out or leave the house and train with one for all somewhere. Minoru smiled nervously. That's very productive. Well done, young Maita. Now then, let us be off. All Might wasted no time and started jogging ahead. Hey, wait up, All Boss. The smaller boy ran off to catch up with his mentor. Minoru's POV. Well, I'm glad All Might approves of my managing method when it comes to my pervy urges. It's simple, but it works well enough. Besides, as much as those thoughts run through my head, that's a few hours of training every day. So hey, upsides. I'm still not quite there yet, but I'm working on it. So I'll take it at my own pace. Besides, I got a rocking mentor who sees not only the hero and person I can be, but I also got a kick-ass friend who's got my back too. Speaking of said friend, I gotta thank Izuku for snapping me back to reality back at the USJ. Maybe I should do something nice for him too, but whatever. I'll think of something. Wonder what the dude's doing now. No one's POV. With Izuku. Izuku sneezed as he and Chizome enjoyed some takoyaki together. You okay? Chizome asked. Sniff, fine. Just felt like someone was talking about me. Izuku shook his head. Well, that aside. Chizome, is it okay if I ask you for advice? Izuku asked. About what exactly? Chizome questioned. Well, you by any chance have any dating advice? Izuku asked nervously. Chizome could only give Izuku a raised eyebrow. Okay, what happened? Long story short, my friend Minoru, the one I told you about, kinda set me up on a date with a girl and I have zero idea on what to do. Izuku confessed. TCH, sorry to say. I have no experience in this field. Izuku. You're better off asking your parents, Chizome said, taking another bite of his takoyaki. My boy, thanks anyways, teacher. Izuku said, looking down at his food, thinking of much of a trip that was going to be. His parents had always waited for the day Izuku would ask for dating advice. That day was fast approaching and Izuku was not prepared for it. Not at all. Ghhhh. Izuku let out a loud and defeated groan as he walked down the city streets alongside his partner Minoru, who was just smirking like a hyena. Geez, dude. Was it really that bad? Minoru looked over to his taller friend. Izuku sported a face that would make you think he hadn't slept in weeks. Yes, and I regret asking my parents for dating advice. It was just horrible. My mom was trying to teach me all these proper gentlemanly gestures, ways to style my hair, what kind of mints I should use, how I should talk, how I should dress, how I should blink in breath. Izuku shook his head, remembering the horrid chain of events he had to endure at home upon asking for dating advice. Minoru could really feel the boy's pain as he looked like he was having a PTSD flashback. Sorry about that, my dude, really feelin' for you here. Minoru cringed just imagining all of that, and God, it was worse than anything his mother could do, and that's saying something for him, and it is anything but pleasant. It's okay, I survived. My dad wasn't as bad. He was just giving me one-liners and flirts to try out. But I'm not sure I can do any of them. I have become more assertive, but girls are a completely different trial for me. Izuku ran a hand through his hair, feeling nervous from the very thought of his date with Setsuna. He would not last long with her teasing. I feel ya. Minoru patted his uneasy friend's side. Trust me, dude, the female sex is a very wild beast to tame. It can be pleasurable and easy, or they can buck you to the ground and trample you flat. Minoru said, winching from remembering all his blunders with other girls. Of course you'd say that. Speaking of which, what about you? Did you ask your mom for advice? Izuku curiously asked, tilting his head. Ask my mom for dating advice? PFFF. Yeah, not pulling the pin on that grenade. Nah man, I'm just gonna wing it. Minoru cracked his neck while stretching. Well, you sure sound confident. Izuku cocked an eyebrow at his smaller friend. Oh no, don't get the wrong dude. I'm not a ladies' man at all. In fact, I failed so unbelievable hard at trying to talk to any girl I've ever met in middle school. However, I think I can start to do it right thing now. What with how much I've changed thus far. Minoru shrugged. I see. Well, I sure hope you can. You're a really nice person deep down. Izuku smiled, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder, looking into his eyes with a comforting smile. Minoru couldn't help but feel at ease. There was just something about Izuku and the way he acted. It was really hard to worry or feel down with him around. Thanks, bud, but you don't need advice in my opinion. You'd charm any girl you'd meet. Minoru flashed a smile and winked at his pal. This earned a small blush from Izuku, causing him to look away. Haha, well, that sure brings up my confidence about it. Izuku chuckled. Well, that's good. You think Takage-shin and Yanagichin heard about what happened? Minoru placed his hands into his pockets. Sigh, I'm going to guess they have. It has blown up quite a lot already. Izuku's mood dropped while remembering the incident. Yeah, it has. Minoru's smile soon faded as well. This caused their walk to become fairly silent. Both boys not making eye contact with each other or even making conversation. Though they won, the very incident itself still unnerved the both of them. The silence seemed to drag on for what seemed to be forever until Izuku spoke up. I was pretty scared, Minoru-kun. Izuku spoke to the smaller boy. Huh, really? You seemed like you were completely in control back there. Minoru's gaze very hesitantly met Izuku's. Well, I tried to be as in control as possible. Our lives were on the line. I couldn't afford to panic or hesitate. I had to be strong for not only you and Sui but for everyone else fighting for their lives. Izuku responded. That was such an Izuku response. Minoru's smile returned slightly at this. Izuku really had a knack for setting people at ease, and well, he was just so selfless. Haha, yeah, just the response I would expect for you, dude. Minoru chuckled while rubbing the back of his neck. Izuku smiled as well, seeing his friend's spirit lift a bit. Well, I do aim to please. Izuku smiled at Minoru. I could tell. Ha, and I'm sorry for freaking out back there. I know, mega pussy. Minoru cringed thinking back to it. Please don't apologize. Your emotional response was justified. That was a sudden life or death situation. Even I was freaking out. I may now have shown it, but I was deep down. I was just as scared as you were. So please, don't let it get to you, friend. Izuku spoke sternly as he looked into the smaller boy's eyes. Minoru could never seem to retaliate against the stern look of his. Thanks, pal. I mean it. That pretty much takes the rest of my anxiety about that whole mess wash away. Minoru then suddenly stopped walking. This caused Izuku to stop as well. What's wrong? Izuku asked curiously, took a deep breath and suddenly embraced Izuku. Thanks for taking charge and leading us through all that. You're the best, bro. The best, and next time I'll show you how cool I can be. Minoru then quickly released Izuku. Izuku was taken by surprise, but he didn't dislike it. That was actually very heartwarming for him. Haha, I look forward to it. Izuku patted Minoru's shoulder. Stay tuned, Minoru gestured. With Setsuna and Ryuko. Man, Ryuko-chan. I just can't stop thinking about what the incident we heard about. Setsuna placed her hands behind her head as she walked the streets of the city with her stoic friend. That is understandable. Such an unexpected and very catastrophic string of events to happen to mere students and at such a heavily safeguarded establishment such as the USJ is quite mind-boggling to say the least. Ryuko responded. You can sure say that again. Damn, weren't Midoriya and Maita in 1A? Setsuna looked over to Ryuko. Indeed, I do believe they were. I do pray no harm came upon them or any of their other classmates. Ryuko's voice had a small tinge of worry in her voice, which was rare. Worry too, same here. They both seem like such squishy nice boys. You know, the cute kind that you'd never take for fighters. The sweet gentle kind. Setsuna said, looking up to the sky. Looks can be deceiving, Setsuna-chan. Though those two may seem cloying, but with them being in the hero course I doubt they are dilettantes. I'm sure they both have some semblance of combat capability. Ryuko set her friend's worry to rest. Yeah, I guess you got a point. Maybe I'm worrying too much. The news said there were no casualties. Setsuna shrugged. Even so, I still want to see them as soon as possible. I want to hear it from their own mouths. I just won't feel at ease until I do. Setsuna shook her head and heaved a huge sigh. That's very admirable of you, Setsuna-chan. Ryuko said with stoic eyes. What you talking about? Setsuna raised an eyebrow. How much concern and care you show for individuals that you've encountered, disregarding how long you've been in acquaintances with them. You are very charismatic, Ryuko said with a small smile. Riken, thanks. Well, what can I say, I'm just that kinda gal. Setsuna placed an arm around the silver-haired girl. Setsuna, have you ever heard of the phrase, speak of the devil and the devil will come before? Ryuko tilted her head. Yeah, I have. It's often used for me. Why? Setsuna smirked with her signature sharp-toothed smile. The stoic girl then pointed ahead to the other side of the street to Izuku and Minoru walking together. There they are, speak of the devil, Setsuna laughed. Wasn't that what I just said? Ryuko thought to herself as Setsuna waved and yelled out to the two boys. Hey, fellas over here, yo-ho, Setsuna called out to the two waving air arms. Hey, dude, check it out. It's Takage and Yanagi. Minoru winked. Yes it is them, hehe. Isn't that a coincidence? Izuku smiled. Ready for phase 2 of Operation Scout Skirt? Minoru nudged Izuku with his elbow with a sly look. Why do you have to call it that? The freckled boy pinched the bridge of his nose. Come on, dude. You've gone along with it thus far. Early date? Minoru tilted his head, smiling. If they agree. Though I honestly hope they don't, because I am not mentally prepared. Izuku ran a hand through his hair, cringing. Dude, take a chance. Just you. I mean, I can't see a single thing wrong with you, so I couldn't really see you messing anything up. Minoru said, placing his hands in his pockets, looking away, smiling embarrassed. Izuku smiled ear to ear hearing that from Minoru. Thank you. If you think so, then I believe it. Let's do this, partner. Izuku smirked and walked across the street over to the girls' side of the sidewalk with Minoru close behind him. Well, looky what we have here, man. Am I happy to see you too right now. Couldn't stop thinking about you, Setsuna said with a relieved smile. Izuku smiled at her with a blush. She speaks the truth. Your well-beings were all she could think about. I shall not deny it, I as well. It does bring my mind a sense of ease seeing you okay and well. Ryako's tone had a small bit of life to it this time. I'm assuming you heard about what happened, Izuku asked with a nervous look. Wouldn't surprise me if you did. Minoru rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, we did. Seriously, who would have ever guessed? Just have been scary as hell for y'all. Setsuna gave a sympathetic look. We do hope the pandemonium of the event hasn't caused you any emotional turmoil, the white-haired girl said. Was it scary? Yes. Are we letting it get to us? No. Though it was an intense and life-threatening situation, we just had to keep it together and work together if we had any chance of survival. Izuku crossed his arms and spoke in a stern tone. And we did more than just survive. We freaking conquered. Ah man, we went against the endgame boss that was like super strong. Not even our teacher stood a chance against it, and we took it down. Minoru pumped his fist with a cocky grin. PFFF, wow, really? Setsuna was thrown for a loop. Ryako seemed surprised too, but only very faintly. Yep, I mean like, we pretty saved the day. Took down the big boss monster before the pros even showed up. We had it under control. Minoru placed his hands on his hips, posing. Minoru, come on. Don't brag. We could have died. Izuku rolled his eyes a bit. Hey, it's cool. You two got a right to brag a bit. Your hero's already. Setsuna chuckled, patting Izuku's shoulder, which made the boy blush a dark red. Well, if you say so, Izuku replied nervously. I see. You two must have a strong sense of equanimity, Ryako said, while Minoru looked up to her confused. Steadiness of mind under stress. Ryako explained. You're a pretty smart chick, Yanagichan. Minoru smiled at her. Thank you, she replied stoically, which earned a chuckle from Minoru. Didn't take you a fighter, Freckles. Didn't think someone so innocently sweet-looking could kick ass like a boss. Setsuna loomed in close to Izuku's face, smirking. Why yes. Well, I trained well. It was do or die. Izuku regained his composure. Yes, I'd like to hear about said training, Setsuna said. Oh really? Well, maybe if you'd like. Izuku rubbed his arm. Yay. What say we go on our date a bit early, Setsuna suggested, looking to her stoic friend. Yes, I would like that. Ryako agreed. As you wish, ladies. Minoru bowed. Oh okay, haha. Gosh darn it. Izuku smiled. It's settled. Let's reward these heroes with a great time. Ryako-chan, Setsuna cheered, and Ryako merely nodded. You don't have to reward us, Izuku said. Well, I could think of a very fitting reward. Minoru smirked. Izuku turned to look at Minoru with a stern glare. And what might that be? Ryako asked. A smile. A real nice one too. Minoru requested. You wish to see my smile? Well, given how you went through such a dire situation, I suppose it's the least I can do. Ryako took a deep breath. She then pushed her hair out of the way of her left eye. The girl then lifted her hand up, and suddenly Minoru was levitated into the air to meet her eye level. Wow, Minoru was shocked but intrigued. Ryako shut her eyes and opened them once more and gave a very bright and warm smile, completely breaking her stoic streak. Minoru's heart skipped a bit. Was gorgeous. His face flushed red and his words were caught in his throat. How's this? Ryako asked. Now it was Minoru's turn to be a stuttering mess. I think he likes it, Setsuna teased. Oh wow, is that your quirk? Is it some kind of psychokinesis? Izuku's eyes lit up. Correct. Her smile faded and she set Minoru back on his feet, who was still spaced out. Amazing, Osai. I forgot my notebook. Izuku rolled his eyes. Wanna see mine? Setsuna winked. Yes, Izuku grinned ear to ear. Setsuna held out her hand. Shake my hand. She smirked. Okay. Izuku took the green-haired girl's hand and shook it, but to his surprise her hand popped off. Setsuna screamed, holding her wrist. Izuku shrieked like a woman and let go of her hand, but it didn't fall. It floated in the air. Izuku's shriek snapped Minoru out of his love-struck daze and glanced over to see Setsuna's disembodied hand floating. Zoink's floating hand. Minoru jumped into Izuku's arms and Izuku caught him. Oh my god, every time gets him every time. Setsuna howled with laughter. Sai Setsunachan. Ryako shook her head while fixing her hair. Come on guys. Don't. Setsuna poked her head and it popped off her shoulders and floated in the air. Lose your head, she punned. Wow, that is amazing, Izuku exclaimed. And super creepy. Minoru cringed as he jumped out of Izuku's arms. Don't be hadden. Setsuna smirked as her head and head reattached to her body. Let's go to our favorite cafe so we can talk more about quirks. Because tell you what, I'm real curious about your quirks. Setsuna crossed her arms. Ryako nodded in agreement. A cafe, oh right, date. Very well. Let's go. I'm not ready. Oh my god, Izuku steeled himself for this. Now you're talking. Let's have some fun and get to know each other. Minoru flashed a wink at Ryako. However, he only got a stoic nod in return. Yeah, it's gonna be a real slow burn between me and her. If she even takes an interest. Minoru thought to himself. Well then, follow the lizard girl. Setsuna skipped ahead with some real pep in her step. Ryuko just casually followed close behind her. Izuku and Minoru both gave each other a look. Let's do this, my dude. Minoru held out his fist to Izuku. I'm so not ready, Buthy. I've been through worse. Let's do this, let's really knock their socks off. Izuku smiled and bumped his friend's fist. Gonna have to work on your one-liners, Minoru said. Sigh, darn it. I'll get there eventually. Izuku hung his head a bit. Minoru patted Izuku's side and they both walked off, catching up to the two girls. How would this play out? Only time would tell. However, one this was for certain, fun would be had today. Just as planned, the 4 teens had read a cafe together for an early double date. To be perfectly honest, both Izuku and Minoru were nervous about it, but Setsuna and Ryuko were very laid-back girls. This allowed them to relax and get a good groove going. Izuku even got into explaining his quirk to the two girls. Holy moly, that's your quirk. Setsuna's eyes beamed with disbelief after hearing Izuku explain the nature of his quirk. That is quite the remarkably powerful quirk, Ryuko commented as she took a sip of her tea. Haha, thanks. Izuku blushed, tracing a finger along his glass of milk. Izukun's a boss. Minoru smirked as he snacked on some grapes and soda. This led to Izuku rolling his eyes with a smile. Very humorous, Minoru-kun. Izuku playfully flicked the shorter boy's forehead. Ha, what can I say? I'm hilarious. Also cause, well, I'm a joke character. But hey, even a joke character can have other sides to him. Ha, Minoru thought himself with a smug smirk. Final boss, say, how many quirks do you have? Setsuna asked, fiddling a cookie between her fingers. Well, as of that attack on the USJ and recent events, 12. No wait, 13, I just remembered I did steal a gun finger quirk from a villain. Izuku rubbed his chin while looking off as he spoke. 13. Holy hell, man, you are stacked. Setsuna was astonished. It would be very tricky to oppose you as an adversary, Ryuko said, still with her stoic look. You'd have many counters for anything your opponent attempted. She added, man, I can only imagine all the quirks you have. Although, makes me curious. Just how did you get all those quirks? Setsuna raised an eyebrow. Ah, well, you see, they're from old friends of mine who didn't really want them. They just wanted to live normal lives without quirks, so they let me have theirs because they knew I wanted to be a great hero, Izuku said, trying to sound as genuine as possible. He noticed that Setsuna narrowed her eyes on him a bit harder, as if trying to sense Lee couldn't deny this had him nervous. Okay then, some real neat friends you got. Lucky boy. Setsuna winked at the boy while smiling with her trademark jagged tooth smile. Izuku internally sighed in relief. He felt like Setsuna was going to call him out. The last thing he wanted to do was soil this date by lying. And what of you, mind, Tessin? Ryuko asked the small boy. Just call me Minoru. I don't mind. As for me, it's a 2-in-1 thing. See my hair? Minoru pointed to his ball-like hair. Yes, we do. So it's cause of a quirk it's like that. Ah, I just thought you had bad hair fashion. Setsuna poked fun at Minoru. Oh, bite me. Minoru sighed while rolling his eyes. Where? Setsuna smiled widely, showing all her sharp teeth. Teak right. Supposed I walked right into that one. Moving on. I can pop these hairballs off my head and they're super sticky. They stick to just about everything besides me. I bounce right off of them. When I pop one off, another grows back instantly, and if I pop off too many, my scalp will bleed. Minoru explained pop off as simply as he could. Interesting. Ryuko briefly said. Setsuna threw her head back, slowly dragging out the word. Minoru's face turned red with frustration. Oh, by no means. His quirk can be very useful. As he battles an opponent, he can cover an area with his hairballs and doesn't have to worry about avoiding them because they don't stick to him. However, it greatly hinders his foe by limiting their movement, while Minoru's movement is increased as he can bounce off of his hairballs. Not only that, if he gets one stuck on a foe, they'll more than likely try to pull it off, thus only getting them more stuck. Izuku explained in perfect detail like an instructor. That is a rather practical way to analyze it. In that light, it does sound useful, Ryuko said as she folded her hands. Yeah, I was just kidding anyways. Cool quirk, dude. Setsuna smiled and chomped down a cookie. Thanks, and now for the second, it's kind of a stockpile power quirk. I can store up power the more I work out or push my body to the limit. Then I can use that stored power to amp me up. Speed, power, and durability. Minoru smirked. Okay, now that's cool. Setsuna chuckled. HMPH. Small yet versatile, Ryuko said, which made Minoru cringe. Sigh, can we not with small comments? Minoru leaned his head back, gazing up to the ceiling. He's very self-conscious about his height. Izuku patted Minoru's shoulder to comfort him. Sorry, Setsuna laughed out loud. I do apologize. However, Minoru, I believe your personality outshines your height. Ryuko complimented the boy. Minoru was surprised by this and lowered his head down to look her in her one visible eye. Ah, really? The boy asked, trying to confirm what he heard. Yes, though you may not be as tall as others, you have a very eye-catching personality, so much that it is able to keep my attention. Ryuko spoke with a small pitch of emotion. Minoru felt his heart skip a beat. What was this feeling? True, he had gotten excited by girls before, but this thighs just wasn't the same feeling. Not by a long shot. Thanks, Yang-chan. Minoru blushed, looking away, unable to calmly look the girl in the eye. Please, refer to me as Ryuko. You allowed me the right to refer to you by your first name. so I shall bestow the same privilege upon you. Ryuko gave a small smile. Ahiha. Thanks, Ryuko. Minoru looked at her with a warm smile of his own. Oh, ain't that adorable? Hey Freckles, Setsuna, call me that. Setsuna winked at Izuku. What? Really? Izuku was caught off guard. Yep, really, and I think I'll call you Izuchin. Setsuna beamed with glee. Izuchin. Izuku's face glowed a bright red. You don't have an issue with it. Right. Setsuna leaned forward while giving Izuku a wide evil smirk. No, not at all. Izuku's hands flailed around as he nervously answered. Good. Setsuna clapped her hands together and leaned back in her seat. Hey, now then. Why are you two mercs trying to be heroes? Setsuna moved a lock of hair from her face. Minoru and Izuku both looked at each other as if having a mental conversation. I am curious to know as well. Ryuko spoke up. The two boys then looked back to the girls with smiles. Well, Izuku went first. I want to be a hero because I wanted to be like All Might. Be a hero that saves people with a smile, but now I want to be a hero who believes in his own justice. Not only that, I want to remind other heroes or future heroes to come what it truly means to take on the mantle of a hero. It's a shame a lot of heroes seek fame and glory, which isn't right. Whatever goal you choose to pursue under the title of hero should be a selfless goal, not for just self-gain. Izuku put his hands together as he spoke. His voice and eyes both gleamed with passion and devotion. Then me. Well, it's not as grand as Izuku's, but I want to inspire others like me to rise above their circumstances and inner demons. Before I met my master and before I met Izuku, I wasn't the best of people. A real joke of a human being, but then, an event that I won't go into detail about happened to me and well, I got a new leash on life, and when I gained my master, I slowly not changed. More like, I got better. Sorry if I'm rambling. In a nutshell, I want to inspire others like me who think that they're losers and can never amount to anything, can go from zeros to heroes. I want to be cool for them. Minoru gripped his fist and smiled, his eyes burning with determination. Needless to say, Setsuna and Ryuko were impressed with what they heard. Both had wide smiles upon their faces. Both very noble reasons indeed. You two certainly have the right idea. Ryuko nodded her head and placed her hands on her lap. Those felt like philosophies rather than simple goals. Hey, hot damn boys. Impressed. Very impressed. Setsuna chuckled and clapped. Hey, thanks. Izuku smiled nervously and scratched the back of his head. Happy to please, ladies. Happy to please. Minoru flashed a wink to Ryuko, but he'd earned little to no reaction from the stoic girl. Eyeth cold shoulder again. Minoru cringed dramatically. Actually, I winked back at you. You just didn't see it. Ryuko had a small smile and her voice sounded somewhat teasing. Minoru blushed and chuckled bashfully. Ryuko's personality was an enigma to him, but he liked it. Haha, rare to see you so embarrassed. Izuku instantly threw his right hand behind his hand and grabbed onto something in pure instinct. He looked back to see a disembodied hand in his grasp. Damn it, thought I had you there, geez. You've got sharp reflexes. Setsuna's hand floated back to her wrist and reconnected with her. Haha, it'll be a long while before you can sneak up on me. Izuku smiled softly. I can 100% agree with that statement. Dude's pretty much a ninja. Minoru butted in. Haha, that right now. Well then, that just means I'll have to pull out all my best tricks and mark my words, Izuchin. I will get the drop on you. After all, I'm striving to be a great hero too. I can't just let you be better than me, Setsuna caustically said. Hey ho. You're welcome to try. Izuku shot back with a sassy smile. Oh, Izuchin biting back, I like it. Okay, consider it on. Setsuna went in for a nose boop on Izuku, but to her surprise, Izuku, feeling rebellious, playfully bit her finger. Oh hehe. Setsuna yelped in surprise, but chuckled at his playfulness. Just to play along, she disconnected her finger, but Izuku kept her finger between his teeth, smiling. Izuku then spit the finger out at her. Setsuna chuckled as she caught her finger and reattached it. Yes, I am biting back indeed. Izuku flashed a wink. Wow, Izuku, didn't know you had that kind of side in ya. Minoru's eyes widened at his best pal's sudden change in attitude. There's a lot you don't know about me, Minoru-kun, Izuku said to Minoru with a smirk. Oof, I don't doubt that. Minoru held his hands up. Mysterious individuals are always the most interesting. You never quite know what to expect from them, hence why others tend to gravitate toward them. Ryuko said, tell me about it. Just when I think I've got this guy figured out, he totally does a 180 on me. Minoru threw his hands on the table lazily. I try not to be too predictable. After ally who might become an adversary, Izuku said in a rather low and ominous tone. Minoru seemed to get a chill down his spine when he said that. Setsuna and Ryuko seemed unnerved by it as well. Oh, hehe. I'm sorry. Just something my sensei taught me. Don't worry about it. Izuku smiled bashfully and waved his hand dismissively. Mysterious indeed. Jesus, Setsuna said in astonishment. That's my buddy, huh? Minoru chuckled. Ryuko only hummed while examining Izuku. Okay, topic change. Setsunachin, Yaganishin. Why exactly do you two want to become heroes? Izuku quickly changed the subject. Why do I want to be a hero? Well, that's a secret. Setsuna winked as she pressed a finger to her lips with a smile. Oh come now, Setsunachin, that's hardly fair since you asked them their reasons. Ryuko looked at her green-haired friend with her stoic expression. Hey, I didn't force them. They could have said no. Setsuna crossed her arms with a raised eyebrow. True, however, you did put them on the spot. They would have felt rude if they had declined. Rieko protested. Setsuna pouted and growled at Rieko a bit. Izuku and Minoru both looked at each other trying to figure something out. Hey, forget about it. We don't mind, Minoru said. Yes, if it's personal to her, that's completely fine and we understand. Izuku added. Thanks, see Rieko, they don't mind. Setsuna booped Rieko's nose, to which she only blinked expressionless. Very well. I will share. The reason I have chosen to undertake the trial of becoming a heroine is to fight against injustice. There have been far too many instances where I have been a mere bystander in situations where I could have helped but was unable to due to legal reasons. Rieko looked down at her hands. Her voice had a small hint of conflicting feelings. Oh wow, whatever it was really must have sucked. Minoru rubbed the back of his neck. Yes, it seems to have affected you greatly, but that's why you're striving to be a hero now. Izuku tried his best to comfort her. Yeah, and I know you'll rock the hero course, Minoru cheered her on. Rieko lifted her head, and even though she kept her stoic expression, there was a small smile in her eyes. I agree, Rieko, I'll make sure you rock the hero course like a hurricane. Rieko cut off the girl by flicking her nose. No, just no. Rieko shook her head. Buzzkill. Setsuna rolled her eyes and leaned back in her seat, heaving a great sigh. Minoru and Izuku laughed together at the two girls' dynamic with each other. The rest of the date went off without a hitch. The time really seemed to fly by as they all spent time together. However, it eventually had to come to an end. The four stood outside the care saying their goodbyes. Thanks for today, boys. It was magical, Setsuna chirped. My first date. It was quite enjoyable. I would most certainly want to do it once more, Rieko said. Haha, well, I mean, we're a Sue, that's to be expected. Minoru bowed cockily. Ahem. We're happy you enjoyed it. We were kinda nervous to do this so early, Izuku admitted. Well, he was. Minoru pointed a thumb to Izuku. The green-haired boy then stared daggers at the smaller boy, which made him shiver and turn away from his quickly. No worries. We were too, though we didn't show it. Setsuna reassured them and Rieko merely nodded in agreement. Oh my. Well, that makes me feel better. Izuku smiled nervously. See, Izuku, you were worried for nothing. Minoru placed his hands on his hips. If my memory serves me right, you were nervous too. Izuku crossed his arms and tapped his foot. I have no comment. Minoru looked off. Haha, I swear you two are like brothers. Setsuna laughed at the two boys. Rieko stayed silent and watched the two boys bicker. Sigh, very well, Minoru. If you say so. Izuku rolled his eyes. Happy you saw it my way. Minoru patted Izuku's back. Haha, we tots gotta do this again. Setsuna pulled out her phone. Rieko nodded and did the same. Oh ho ho, well, how can we decline? Yes, finally getting a girl's number who's not my mom. Haha, that sounded so sad. God, this script. Minoru cursed as he took out his phone as well. You who getting a girl's number who isn't my mother? That's new. I thought high school would be a lot worse. Guess I was wrong. Izuku thought to himself while bringing out his phone. Setsuna snickered as she traded contact info with Minoru and Izuku. Rieko only hummed as she exchanged her info with the two boys. Awesome, call me Izuchin. Setsuna made a phone gesture with her fingers. Do not be hesitant to text or call. I'm not too busy per se. Rieko spoke in her normal monotone voice. Alright, I'll talk to you later to HEM. Setsunach and Izuku smiled nervously. Don't gotta tell me twice, Rieko and Minoru winked. Alright, see ya. The lizard girl turned and skipped off waving. Rieko bowed formally and walked off with the curly-haired girl. Phew. Minoru let out a huge breath of air as he watched Rieko walk off. You're staring at her butt, aren't you? Izuku placed his hands on his hips while raising an eyebrow. I resent your comment. Only a jerk would stare at a woman's butt. I am a refined gentleman, I'll have you know. I am admiring her butt and it looks very nice. Minoru pouted as he turned his back to Izuku. Sieg. Izuku heaved a sigh. Hey, it's a lot better than what I'd normally do. Minoru turned, crossing his arms. True. Fair enough. Either way, good job controlling yourself back there. You didn't do one thing for them to be upset with you about. Izuku smiled at his smaller friend. Well, I did say I was gonna shape up. Not gonna completely give up being a perv, cause let's be honest. That's never happening. I can be more mature about it. Minoru smirked. And mature you have grown. Still some kinks but commendable. Izuku held out his hand to Minoru. The smaller boy smiled and shook his hand. Great work, friend. Izuku smiled ear to ear. Haha, back at you, bud. Minoru donned a goofy smile. Well, I'm gonna go train for a while. Wanna come with? Izuku asked. Train with you? Sure, I'm ready for anything. Minoru shadowboxed the air. Anything, huh? How okay. Follow me. And then Izuku leaned down to loom over the boy. Let's dance. A crooked smile crept on Izuku's face that chilled Minoru to the core. Minoru gulped as Izuku walked off leading the way. What did I just get myself into? Minoru thought as he nervously followed Izuku to his training spot. Whatever this wash could tell, it was probably going to hurt. It didn't take Izuku and Minoru long to get to the training spot Stain used to train Izuku. Izuku was excited to face his quirk's polar opposite. Minoru, on the other hand, not knowing Izuku's power true origins, was nervous not only cause he had multiple quirks, but because it was just Izuku he was facing in general. When Izuku and Minoru met again at UAS gates, Izuku had already guessed Minoru had won for all. The first moment he met him he could just somehow sit within him. Seeing him in action at the entrance exam, his power felt so familiar, like he had felt it before. To be honest, when Izuku had told Minoru his quirk's real name it was to test to see if he would react to it. Based on his reaction he honestly had no idea about it. So All Might must not have told him about it yet. Which was a shame because Izuku really wanted to talk to Minoru about it. Izuku was seriously pondering on whether or not he should tell Minoru himself. Maybe All Might hadn't told Minoru yet for a reason. The green-haired boy didn't want to ruin whatever plan All Might had for Minoru but really wanted to talk to his counterpart about this. So he only hoped All Might would forgive him. "Hey, Minoru-kun." Izuku called out to the boy as they were doing warm-up. Smaller boy looked over to Izuku with a raised eyebrow. "Be honest, when I told you the name of my quirk the first time, did it mean anything to you?" Izuku asked with a straight face. Minoru tilted his head and shook it. "No, not really. Why? Also when you told the others its name you called it something else. What's up with that?" Minoru questioned his freckled friend. "Well, my reasoning for that is because my quirk's true name is a secret only a select few can know. You and All Might are one of them." Izuku replied back. "Akue. But why though?" Minoru shoved his hands into his pockets. Izuku sighed and decided that he would just be honest with him. Minoru is intertwined in this long red string fate. It's only fair he knows the truth. "Minoru-kun, I know about One for All," Izuku said, fatly catching Minoru completely off guard. He was shocked beyond belief. "How did he know?" No idea what that is, dude." Minoru smiled nervously, trying to play it cool. "Stop. I know All Might passed his power on to you. You have One for All inside you. I can sense it within you." Izuku stepped closer to the shorter boy who was still in shock and nervously smiling. How do you know?" Minoru said through a shaking smile. "Because I have your quirk's counterpart. I have All for One. The quirk that made the creation of One for All possible." Izuku looked deep into Minoru's eyes with serious and stern eyes to show this was no joke. "I don't understand." Minoru shook his head, confused and lost. "All Might really hadn't told you yet, had he?" Izuku sat down on the grass with his legs closed. "Told me what?" Minoru sat down with his friend. "The origins behind One for All and my quirk All for One. The story of two brothers." Izuku held out his arms and took a deep breath. "Listen well, Minoru-kun. This is a very intense tale." Izuku looked at Minoru with stern eyes. Minoru said nothing but only nodded, ready to hear the story. And heard it he did. Everything. Izuku had asked his father to tell him all the gruesome details. Izuku did not hold back a thing. As Izuku told the story, Minoru could feel a dread creep up from the depths of his heart, hearing the haunting tales of the past wielders of One for All being hunted and slaughtered like animals. It made Minoru's very soul chill to the core. Izuku's father really did all of this. No words could leave his mouth. He didn't dare interrupt. The poor boy sat there and listened as Izuku finished up the horror story that was the origin of both One for All and All for One. Sorry you had to learn like this. I'm sure All Might wanted to tell you, but just never thought of a good time." Izuku sympathized with Minoru. I don't know what to say, dude. You kinda just dropped a massive bombshell on me." Minoru hung his head. His mind and thoughts were scattered like raindrops. He had no idea how to respond. "I know this probably worries or scares ya, but you don't have to worry. My father has changed. Truly, and I'm not following in his footsteps of villainy. And I surely didn't bring you out here to try and take One for All from you." Izuku smiled warmly at Minoru, hoping it would calm him down. "Why, yeah, thanks. I know you wouldn't do that." Minoru's nervous smile appears again. He trusted Izuku, but even so this was just a lot to take in at once. "Besides, I couldn't steal it anyways," Izuku admitted. "What? Really? Why?" Minoru tilted his head in confusion. Let's just say Izuku then placed a hand on Minoru's heart. "You've got friends in high places." Izuku smiled warmly. Minoru didn't really understand his vague words, but given how it's Izuku, there was probably nothing to worry about. Taking a big breath, Minoru put his mind at ease. "Well, Izuku, whoa. That was one hell of a revelation." Minoru placed his hands on his hips, taking a big breath. "Haha, I could guess by your face." Izuku smiled and placed a hand on Minoru's shoulder. "You okay? I hope this doesn't change anything between us." Izuku said. "Oh, it does change things, but in a good way." Minoru smirked. "It just means you and I really were destined to be partners." Minoru chuckled. "Haha, I'm happy to hear that. I was afraid you might become afraid or weary of me." "Haha, silly me." Izuku looked off, smiling to himself, feeling a bit silly for worrying so much. It's okay. If I were in your shoes, I'd feel the same way." Minoru sympathized with the green-haired boy. "That's relieving to hear. So, you're really okay with all this?" Izuku asked, just to be sure. "Yes, I am. As long as you keep being the best pal ever." "Then sure." Minoru smiled ear to ear. "Haha, deal." Izuku placed his fist on Minoru's chest with a warm smile. "Deal." Minoru smiled and did the same to Izuku. In this very moment, they could feel All for One and One for All resonate with each other, and for a brief moment they both saw something they couldn't quite explain. Izuku's eyes looked past Minoru's, and standing behind the short boy were these shadowy figures. 8 of them, all with yellow glowing eyes, and one oddly resembled All Might. And as for Minoru, as he looked past Izuku he saw one figure behind him. This one wasn't a shadow figure, but his face was shadowed out. He could really only see his mouth that was curved into a rather ominous smile. He had hair like Izuku's, but it was black, and he had worn a black suit, and he had this red and black static around him. As astonishing as this moment was, it quickly ended, leaving both boys at a loss for words. They both looked like they had just seen ghosts or something. Both stared at each other in silence for several seconds, wondering if the other witnessed the same thing. Izuku was the first to speak up. Did you see something odd just now? Izuku questioned his smaller friend with a cocked eyebrow. Minoru nodded with a rather lost look. I see. Well, I'm pretty sure I just saw some shadowy figures behind you. They all had yellow eyes and one even looked like All Might. Izuku admitted out. Minoru was very taken back by this. I saw a man behind you. Had on a black suit and had hair kinda like yours, only black. I couldn't see his face though, and he had that static that forms around you whenever you use your quirk. Minoru also admitted. That seemed to get Izuku's attention. Yeah, that was without question my dad you just described. Izuku scratched the back of his head. Oh wow, but who were those people behind me? Minoru questioned while crossing his arms. I really don't know, Minoru-kun, but if I had to guess I'd say maybe the past wielders of One for All. The ones who wielded the quirk before you. It would make sense due to All Might being there with them. Izuku tried his best to explain. Oof, ghosts. Wait, but All Might ain't dead. Why is he there? Minoru looked even more confused. Maybe One for All just links you all together. Izuku shrugged, rolling his shoulders. So we're connected. Minoru tilted his head, still trying to process this. That's what I take from it, and I guess my quirk links me and my father together too since he passed it down to me. Izuku explained to his friend. Your power was passed down to you too. We have a lot in common, dude. Minoru smiled ear to ear. That we do. I guess it explains why we click so well together. We're both two boys learning and growing to become better heroes and better people. Izuku smiled back. Yeah, and I'm glad we became pals. I really will do my best to hone this power and keep up with you, buddy. Minoru gripped his fists with determination. You better. Okay, back to it, fight me. Izuku flipped onto his feet. Oh yeah, totally forgot we came out to do that. Minoru nervously said as a smile crept on his face as he stood up. You're doing it again. Izuku spoke out. Doing what again? Minoru seemed lost. That thing. Whenever you get nervous or scared you start smiling. What's with that? Izuku put his hands in his pockets. Oh well, I guess it's sort of a defense mechanism for stressful situations I've developed. Minoru looked off, shrugging his shoulders. I see. Just like All Might. He's really rubbed off on you. Izuku said softly. Yeah, I caused him so much trouble when he first started training me. What with my perverted habits, really should have given up on me. Found someone else. But that one action of me selflessly risking my life to save another convinced him that there was a hero inside me. A hero that he could reach if he just stuck it out. We had a few falling outs I really don't want to talk about right now. Minoru placed his hands in his pockets. I understand. Don't feel like you have to talk about it. Izuku said comfortingly. Thanks man, but long story short, I started to shape up. Seeing All Might believe so hard in me after all the things about me he's seen firsthand. It really made me believe in the hero that he truly believes is truly inside me. Minoru gripped his fist near his chest. I really wanted to find that me. I think you already have. Izuku said with a confident tone. Yeah, I think so too. Or at least I've got a good start on finding it. Minoru said with a smile. Despite my father's past, I still see him as my dad. My own personal hero. Yes, who he was just horrid beyond words, but who he is now isn't a facade. His love for me and my mom isn't pretend. He would give the world for us. He gave up all he created as the infamous symbol of evil, all for one, for true love. Dad had more humanity in him than he really knew. Izuku looked off with a solemn expression. That's wholesome, man. Does it, get hard to think about it, knowing all he did. Minoru raised an eyebrow curiously. A little, but he's put it behind him and is focused on being a good father and husband. That's all me and mom can ask for. I won't judge him on past actions. Instead, I'll judge him on his actions here and now I'm proud to be his son and to call him dad. Izuku smiled with a blush. Heh. I'm jealous kinda. Must be nice. Having a good father figure. I never knew mine, you see. Minoru said, looking down at his feet. Yes, I recall you mentioning this once before. Izuku placed a finger to his chin. Yeah, he walked out on my mom before I was even born. My mom cheated. Minoru's voice became a little grim. So he left in anger and heartbreak and you resent him for it. Izuku took an educated guess. Look, I'm not angry at him for being angry at my mom, okay? What she did was effed up and he had every right to be upset with her and to leave her. What I'm angry about is that he completely abandons me. I didn't do anything. I didn't have a hand in it. Why shun me too? I'm his son. You'd think he'd at least visit me and be my dad. But no, he pretty much went screw both of you. Minoru's voice became rather harsh. Izuku in response put a hand onto his shoulder. Sorry, but whatever. Screw him too, the jerk. I'm going to show him he missed out. I'm going to master One for All and become a great hero. Then maybe when he sees me saving lives and inspiring other losers like me to become stronger, he'll see that he missed his chance. Minoru clenched his fists. Minoru, I understand your feelings, but please don't mix up personal grudges with your overall goals. They will cloud your judgment and visions. Izuku advised and warned his shorter friend. Right. Sorry, I just get emotional talking about him. I try to forget it really. Sometimes it just slips. Minoru admitted. Well, that's what you have me for now. After all, we're going to be a hero duo, right? Izuku smirked. Why? Minoru looked up at Izuku with a shocked look. Come on, think about it, all for one and one for all, working together as partners for the greater good. What could be better than that? Izuku smiled ear to ear with joy in his eyes. Minoru was silent for a few moments. He was really serious. The purple-haired boy couldn't help but chuckle. I'm down with that. Minoru smiled as well. Then it's a promise. From here on out, we are a team, a duo. Through thick and thin, through joy and woe, through hardship and peace, we will face it all together, side by side. Izuku held out his hand. Back to back. Always. Minoru smiled and took his hand. Always ready when we hear the call. Izuku nodded and gripped his friend's hand tightly. I promise, the two boys said together in unison and shook each other's hands. Then so it shall be, Izuku said as the two released each other's hands. You bet now I really want to get the hang of one for all so I can stop using my dad's quirk. Minoru smiled. Pardon. Izuku titled his head. Pop off. It's my dad's quirk. Minoru informed him. What do you mean stop using it? Izuku questioned him, crossing his arms. Like I said, dude, I want to forget about him. That goes for his whack-ass quirk too. I only still use it cause I don't have full control of one for all yet, but once I get decent control I'm ditching pop off. You can have it or something. I don't care. Minoru scoffed. Wasteful. Izuku said suddenly. Minoru tilted his head a little surprised. That's such a waste, Minda. Izuku gave a stern look that gave Minoru a chill down his spine, and the fact he just switched back to using his last name unnerved him more. I understand your resentment to your father, but don't squander the gifts you were born with because of it. Pop-off isn't a WHACKASS quirk. Thanks to it, you were able to stick robots in place at the exam. You were able to defeat Kaminari and Jiru and help defeat that Namu thing, as well as stick up the villains me and All Might after to clean up the USJ. Izuku lectured the boy. It's not the quirk that makes the person, but the person who wields it, and you wield pop-off righteously. Hell, it would even be good for rescue situations too. Don't let your father's actions make you waste your potential. Wield that quirk with grace, you hear? Izuku stomped his foot. Why yeah man, Minoru flinched and held up his hands a bit shaken. He never really saw Izuku act like this. Good, thank you. I just want what's best for you, and believe me, you won't get that with that kind of mindset. Izuku shook his head. I get it, sorry for being all angsty. Minoru rubbed his arm, looking off a little bit embarrassed now. Hey, all teens are a little angsty from time to time. No worries. Izuku patted his shoulder. I hear you there, brother. Minoru joked with him. Haha, now then. Back to what we're here for. Izuku gained a crooked smirk and his nails grew into claws and he sprouted a wolf tail and sharp fangs. His eyes became wolf-like as well, and red and black static formed around him as he got into a fighting stance. Ready, Izuku said with anticipation. Minoru's nervous, scared smile crept onto his face and took a stance, entering OFA shroud. Bring it. He managed to speak out. Consider it brought. Izuku lunged forward at Minoru on all fours. Let's go. Minoru charged forth at Izuku, ready to spar and train with his destined partner. The fight between Izuku and Minoru was intense, but Izuku easily proved to be the superior during the whole fight. Izuku held back to try and see all Minoru was capable of, and after getting a feel of his abilities he decided to go harder and bring the fight to a close. Huff. Minoru fell to one knee as his OFA shroud faded away. Izuku cracked his neck as he looked down, smiling at his shorter friend. Not bad, Minoru, however your fighting style could be better. It's not bad, but it's really, how can I say, unsynchronized. Like it's half finished. Izuku crossed his arms with a cocked eyebrow, trying to figure it out. Well, to be honest, I just wing it and take what I've seen from video games. Minoru rolled his eyes and decided to sit down to catch his breath. I see. Well, normally anyone would say that's dumb, but it honestly wasn't bad. It could really work. It just needs a tad little more form and refinement. Izuku smiled and sat down along with Minoru. Minoru thought about Izuku's words. I could help you, Izuku offered. Minoru's eyes got focused on Izuku as he said this. You know what? Sure, pal. Thanks. Minoru smiled and stretched, feeling wiped out. Sorry if I went a little too hard on you. Izuku scratched the back of his head with a nervous smile. Nah, it's cool. No pain, no gain. Minoru smirks and cracks his sore joints. Oh phew. Good to know. I thought maybe I went a little far. Izuku smiled and helped his friend up. You're a beast, man. Who trained you? Minoru asked, curiously. A very kind man. I'll just say that. Izuku said with a small grin. TCH, now I really wanna know more, but I won't pressure ya. See, with that festival coming up, Minoru quickly changed topics. Oh yes, I'm very excited for it. Hey, let's promise to win it together. Izuku beamed with joy. If we can then sure. Let's win together. Minoru pumped his fist. Yeah, or at the very least make sure we face each other at the very end. Izuku said, knowing they'll probably be competing against each other. That works too. So let's make sure we train each up, cause boy, we've got some stiff competition. Or well, rather, I have competition. I have no doubt you'll thrash the others, but I gotta get stronger if I'm gonna go toe-to-toe with Bakugo or Todoroki. Or if you could take them out first, that would be nice. Minoru jokes. Ha ha ha, I see what you mean. Don't worry, we'll get way better before the festival and we will be the finale, one for all and all for one, back again for one more fight for the ages. But not as foes, but as friends. Izuku patted the shorter boy's shoulder. Haha, yeah, I like that. Minoru smiled ear to ear. I think I'll head home for today. See you tomorrow, Minoru-kun, Izuku said while running a hand through his fluffy green hair. Ah, dang. Well, okay, dude. I don't feel like going home just yet, so I think I'll train here a little more. Minoru stood back up on his feet. Ah, well, good luck and stay safe. See you. We can discuss training tomorrow. Izuku smiled and waved goodbye and began to hover in the air. Sounds like a plan. See ya. Fly safe, avoid birds and insects. Minoru smirked as he waved goodbye as well. Haha, I'll be sure to do that. Bye. Izuku then turned around and took off into the sky. Minoru chuckled before doing some moves to refine his fighting style. Within Minoru. Hehe, well, look at this. I never thought I'd see the day. Never even considered it. One for all and all for one. Coming together as friends. What a sight, said the spirit of Nana Shimura, former teacher of All Might and 7th leader of OFA. Ha ha ha, if this is a dream I better not wake up, said the spirit. Degoro Banjo spoke up. The 5th wielder of OFA. I'm surprised. My brother really raised such a kind boy. It really warms my heart. He may have truly changed. The spirit of Shin Shigaraki spoke. The 1st wielder of OFA. Shin, do you think we can show ourselves to Minoru a bit early? I really like the spirit he's showing and he's progressing so much. Nana asked. Yeah, I agree with her. He's got a streak going on. Strike while the iron's hot. Degoro added. Maybe. I feel the same, but let's consult with the others first. Shin replied. How good. I can't wait to see his face. Nana grinned her goofy smile. With Hisashi. Hisashi was sitting within his work-study room observing Izuku and Minoru through a spy crow quirk. A crow he could summon and whose eyes he could see through. It didn't look any different from a normal crow, so it could fly around without suspicion. Needless to say, he was pleased with what he had seen. Izuku so strong and full of life, and the cute little new OFA baton holder. He was interesting, but nothing quite like the previous ones. He was curious to see how he would develop, but at the moment Izuku had his full attention. Oh Izuku, my darling boy, how you've grown. I'm impressed. This Chisome has really been quite the splendid teacher for you. I'll admit I'm envious a little. But don't worry, I'll have more time to teach you from here on. Haha, I can't wait to meet him. To give him my heartfelt gratitude for turning my son into such a formidable fighter. A thought popped into the man's mind as he leaned back in his chair sipping some red wine. Boo, I know, we should all meet. Me, Chisome, Minta, and his dear teacher, young Toshinori. Oh yes, what a reunion that will be. I can introduce him to Enko. Oh yes, this must happen. Haha, it's been much too long, my old nemesis. We're former. Haha. The former villain howled with his classic renowned laugh. Honey, my favorite drama show is coming on. Won't you take a break and come watch it with me? Enko's voice sounded off from outside his work-study walls. Sure thing, honey, be right there, but the wife comes first. Hisashi got up from his desk and finished his glass of wine before making his way out of his little office and into the living room. Enko met him halfway, smiling. Yay. The woman threw her arms around her beloved husband. Also, were you evil laughing again? She tilted her head. Nuo Hisashi's eyes darted off. What are you scheming? Enko's eyes narrowed onto her husband. Well, nothing illegal. Hisashi's sweat dropped. See, I won't ask. Now come on. I need my dose of cuddles and cringy comedy. The green-haired woman dragged the man off. Ha ha ha, love you to death. Really, I'd level a city for you. Hisashi smiled, holding her hand tightly. Oh, trust me, I know you would. Without so much as a second thought. She looked back, smiling as well. They both shared a laugh as they sat down on the sofa together and cuddled while watching a sappy family drama. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Get things packed up, we're moving. Getting tired of this small apartment. My family deserves an actual house, Hisashi said as he cuddled his wife. Really? So sudden? Enko was surprised. Yeah, got a nice place for us. Don't worry, it's not that far away at all. Change of scenery. That and all my important stuff is there. Also, if I have to suffer these annoying neighbors any longer, there will be hell to pay. Hisashi smiled and rubbed Enko's head and planted a kiss on her forehead, earning a cute giggle from her. Haha, well, I hope Izuku will be okay with it. Enko was happy, but her son's feelings always came to her mind first. Oh, trust me, he'll love it. Hisashi smirked and pulled on Enko's cheek. Chump. Oh, Hisashi reeled his hand away as Enko bit his fingers. Heh. Enko trollingly giggled. Oh, you little shit. Hisashi smiled and held his lover closer. Issue. She rested her head on his chest. Not at all. He sighed contentedly as they melted into each other's loving embrace. With Chisome. Chisome had no idea how he ended up like this. He was just casually sitting in a cafe in casual wear. A simple black shirt, black jacket with a fur hood, dark jeans and red shoes. He also had on a red scarf as well. He had come here to just relax and think to himself, but then suddenly out of nowhere this long green-haired woman with green eyes just sat down with him. She said he seemed down, so she wanted to cheer him up. He honestly wasn't down, just lost in thought, but oddly enough he didn't shoo her away like he would just about anyone else. Her company wasn't so bad, honestly. At first he didn't recognize her, but when she told a joke he didn't laugh at, she glowed blue, then suddenly he began laughing uncontrollably. That's when he pieced it together. He was in the company of Ms. Joke, the smile hero. He had heard much about her and he could tell she was a decent hero, worth respecting. Ha ha, so after that I got detention for 3 days, ha ha, worth it, ah. The old whoopee cushion prank on the teacher. Classic. Emmy wiped a pretend tear from her eye. How young to do. Chisholm tried not to say childish as to not be rude. PFFFF, haha, what's with that response? She laughed. Ahem. Sorry, I just never did such things when I was younger. Chisholm admitted as he looked down at his cup of tea. Haha, it's okay. What exactly did you do when you were younger? Emmy asked while smiling and tracing her finger along the outline of her cup. That's personal. Sorry, Chisholm replied quickly. Hey, no issues, pal. This ain't an interrogation. You can share whatever you're comfortable with sharing. Emmy smiled like a goofball. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't think you've told me your name. Chisholm stated. Oh crud, where's my mind? Emmy Fukukado charmed, I'm sure. She held out her hand like a woman of royal blood would jokingly. Chisholm, being the forward and bold individual he was, took her hand and placed a gentle kiss upon it. Yes, I am charmed, he said as he released the woman's hand. Emmy was shocked to say the least. She hadn't expected him to be so forward. He seemed like one of those stern but shy guys. In fact, she was so taken back she hadn't noticed a faint blush crept on her face. Chisholm noticed this and smirked, seeing her little comedy mask shatter a bit. Her face was a little satisfying. Haha, well, aren't you the charmer yourself? Haha, name? Emmy asked with a grin. Chisholm pondered for a few brief moments. Due to his vigilante activities, he probably shouldn't say his real name. He was only ever known as Stendhal, which he then switched for the alias Stain. But he wanted to be sure. Akatsuki Tako. Chisholm gave a fake name. Red Moon. Pretty name. Emmy winked. Your name has the kanji for laughter. Fitting. Chisholm gave a faint smile. I know, right? Hey. Knock. Emmy prepared a joke. Sigh, who's there? The man answered while sipping his tea. He didn't really mind. Orange, Emmy snickered. Orange who? Chisholm rolled his eyes. Orange, you glad I sat down with you? Hey, the woman howled with laughter. Ha ha, Chisholm gave a faint laugh as to not make the woman use her quirk on him again. Thank you. I'm here all week, woo. Emmy wiped an imaginary tear away again. Well, aren't you a delight? Chisholm rolled his shoulders with a faint smile. Sweetheart, I'm a damn treat and don't you forget it. Emmy reached out and booped his nose. Chisholm was taken back by this action a bit. Her personality was rather unique to say the least. He truly didn't mind her company. In fact, he actually enjoyed it. Heh, now how about a joke about a duck and a before she finished her phone rang in her pocket. Boop. 1 sec, Red. Emmy reached into her pocket to pull out her phone. She seemed to read a text on her phone. Crud. Work calls. She scuffed. Well, a job's a job. Chisholm said. Yes, it is, but I love it. Hey, talking to you was really fun. Let's do it again, she smiled while taking out a pen and pulling up a napkin and began to write something down on it. Pardon. Chisholm raised an eyebrow. Here, ring me up later and I'll be waiting. Emmy slides him the napkin that had her number written on it. Wait, what? Chisholm tried protesting. See, Red. Emmy then without a word got up and skipped out the cafe before Chisholm could protest any further. He was just left there flabbergasted and confused. See, well, she's an interesting character. Chisholm sighed, resting his hand on his chin. He could tell this was going to be an interesting week. It took almost a week for school to start back up for us. It was a relaxing, stressful break due to the sheer reality of what happened, plus being recognized by people on the street and being flocked by news crews. Sigh, well, I didn't really mind. Minoru was kinda stoked about it, but he restrained himself from milking it. So at least I don't have to worry about that. I feel like I yet don't have to worry about a few things about Minoru. He makes me think I should watch him, but then surprises me by being restrained. I can tell he's not 100% clean. I can see some regrets and immaturity in his eyes and words. But I can also see the resolve to be better and make up for whatever was in his past. So I'm rooting for him. I have too much All Might merch, I say while placing down my last box filled with my All Might figures and many other trinkets in my new room. Dad recently just moved us from our apartment to a new home. It was a little sad to leave it. I mean, all our memories are there. But home is where the heart is. As long as we're all together, we're always at home. I look around my new room. Other than a bed and a large dresser table with a mirror on it, it was rather empty. I could see I had my own bathroom and I also saw my closet. It looked rather large, window was wide too and had nice green curtains. Not only that, the room itself was larger than my old room. Oh man, Dad really went out for this. Like a kiddo. I hear my father's voice from behind me. I look over my shoulder and see my dad in the doorway smiling. How? Yes, I do. Once I get everything unpacked and set up, it'll look even better. I smile at my father and walk over to him. He chuckled and ruffled my hair. Very good. I'm happy to hear, Izuku. Now then, won't you follow your dear old dad? I've got something I want you to see. My dad's face became a little serious. I tensed up a bit. Oh, okay, Dad. Sure, lead the way. I nod. Great, come on. Your mother's waiting too. Dad patted my head and turned away, walking out of the doorway and into the hall. Mom's waiting too. Oh boy. I follow close behind my dad as we walk down the long hallway of our new home and down the steps back to the first floor of the home. Dad then leads me to the basement of the home. There you two are, Mom said as she sat in a chair on the opposite of the basement room. Sorry, honey bunny. Anyways, I got Izuku. Let's get started, Dad said while walking to the south side wall of the basement. Mom, do you know what this is about? I raise an eyebrow at my mother. Just wait for it, honey. Trust me, this is something you're just gonna have to see, she said to me, rubbing the back of her head with a nervous smile. Aku. Oh boy, now I was cut off by the sound of a loud metallic noise. I swiftly glanced over back to my father to see there was an opening that was slowly opening in the floor next to him that revealed a stairwell that led downwards. Holy moly, I gasped in awe. I know, I said the same thing, Izuku. Inko chuckled a little bit. Well then, come on already, my dad smirked as he made his way down the stairwell. Wait for us, Dad. I quickly hurry after him down the stairs, excited to see what was below. Mom followed close behind as I did. Once we make it down the long staircase, I come to what I could only describe as a storage room. It was rather large with multiple high cells with rooms of metal and glass containers with red glowing spheres inside of them. What? I was in shock and awe. What was this room? Still as shocking as the first time I saw it. I hear Mom say, "Wait, you've seen this before." I questioned my mom in shock. Only twice. Still amazes me even now. She crossed her arms while smiling. Son, welcome to my quirk storage room. My dad stretched out his arms welcoming me to the room. Wait, quirk storage room. Wait, you mean all of these are quirks? I looked around the large room with several rows of these almost ceiling tall shelves with containers lined up and filling each shelf. Yes, they are. Sigh. Let me get to the point, Izuku. When I told you that I gave you my original quirk, I'm so sorry, my boy, but that was a lie. My dad looked down sadly. I felt my heart skip a beat. I really didn't like being lied to, and for it to come from my own dad didn't make it any better, but I'll hear him out. I'm sure he has a good reason. Dad, did you lie? I asked him calmly. I felt my mom place her hand upon my shoulder. I gave her a slight glance and nod, showing her I was fine. You see, Izuku, quirks are more than what you think. You see, a quirk has traces of the wielder's will and psyche inside of it. When I would steal a quirk of someone, a part of their will and consciousness are transferred to me. Often at times traits of the stolen quirk victims would imprint onto me, or I would be haunted by them in my dreams, often waking up in cold sweats. Ugh. It was almost enough to drive me mad. But getting rid of the quirk seemed to send them away. My dad explained to me while running a hand through his hair. I was speechless. Was this for real? I would have never guessed this as groundbreaking for me, but hold on, but Dad, I was quirkless. How did I get your quirk if you didn't really give it to me? I asked my father. Well, I gave you a blank copy of my quirk. I still have the original quirk. I had a copy of my quirk made and then gave it to you on your 15th birthday. My dad explained to me. Made a copy? Is that possible? Is it due to a quirk? I questioned, wanting to know more. I'll say this. It asked for one last favor from someone that used to follow me. I will say no more. That time is past. I am a new man and want nothing to do with that life anymore. My father looked dismissively. I grit my teeth but understood. I could tell he wasn't lying. So I decided not to press him. Maybe he'll tell me some other day. Maybe. Okay, father. I get it. Wait, if this is true, how come I haven't experienced this yet? I pondered to myself. I take it you haven't quite run into this issue yet, honey. Mom asked me. No, I haven't. Is that? I asked, looking at my father. It didn't happen right away with me. It took a while for it to start up. Like a year or so after manifesting my quirk. My dad said while rubbing his chin. HMMake. A year, huh? Well, it's nearly been a year for me. It's been 9 months since that day I stole my first quirk. Speaking of which, Dad. Well, I needed to tell them about Chisholm and all we did. We already know, sweetie. My mother said to me so casually. Nani, I was caught off guard by that. They knew. Yes, we know. I'm always making sure you're safe, kiddo. I may be a changed man, but I still have ways to keep eyes in this city. Still got quite a few connections too. Dad winked at me. You also know, Abo. I was about to ask something until Dad cut me off. About your trainer. Yes, and don't worry. We're not mad. My dad quickly reassured me. Well, I was at first, but seeing you so happy and making such good growth that I just decided to let it go. Mom smiled at me and patted my shoulder. And given how protective she is, that's saying something, boy. Dad joked and nudged my arm with his elbow. It's just because I love you boys so much, but I don't want to be overbearing. Mom cupped her own cheek and looked off with a conflicted look. Oh, Mom, don't be like that. I love how you are. I hugged my mother tightly. Haha, thank you, sweetie. Mother smiled and wrapped her arms around me. I then felt Dad join the hug as well. Bring it all in. Dad cooed as he hugged us both tightly. But seriously, Izuku, when this whole seeing of those whose quirks you've stolen starts, please let us know at once. Dad pressed the seriousness of this matter. Yes, father, I will. I nod and promised my father. Very good, sweetie. Mom rubbed my head. Oh, wait. Dad, I have to ask. How did you do all this? Put all the quirks in containers. I titled my head. I really wanted to know. Could I do it too? Oh yes, well, as I said before, getting rid of a quirk would normally send the consciousness of the person haunting me away. Normally I would just transfer a quirk into someone, but doing that too many times will turn them into mindless dolls that completely lose all forms of self-dependence. Dad explained with a grim face. Wait, seriously? So giving someone too many quirks could harm them? Oh my. Hey Dad, can you explain that a little more? Why does this happen? I pressed him on it. Well, to simply put it, not everyone is able to handle the strain of gaining a quirk via all for one. The chances of them gaining the quirk with no drawbacks is kinda at random though. Or well, so it was before. With the proper training and practice I learned to do this without fear of turning someone into a mindless doll. However, it can only be done once to a person. Giving them any more quirks will surely negatively affect them. Also, I was watching when you gave a quirk over to that trainer of yours. I'm impressed. You did it without a hitch. However, you may have just gotten lucky. I'll have to teach you the proper technique in case you want to pass on quirks to your friends in the future. My dad explained to me. This was so much to take in. I'm glad I didn't accidentally hurt Chizome, but God, I should have asked so many more questions about his quirk. Oh God, that could have turned out bad. Very bad. Right, thanks Dad. Really. I smiled warmly at my father and he did back. No problem, champ. Now then, about your teacher, why don't you invite him over? My dad suggested. Bring him here. I tilted my head. I was taken back by this. Yes, honey. We want to meet the man who's turned you into quite the rough and tough man. Mom beamed a smile. Oh, okay. Sure. I agreed a bit nervously with a smile. Oh, and your little friend along with his teacher too. I'm sure you know already who that is. My dad gave a smirk. Wait, what? You want me to bring Minoru-kun and All Might too? Dad, is that a good idea? I mean, you too, where I stammered as my mind raced with the many scenarios that could come from such a meeting from former mortal enemies. Oh, don't worry about buddy. I'm sure good old Toshinori will be a sport. Unless he's still sour about the whole lung and stomach thing. Which could be a possible thing. But I have faith. Yeah, tomorrow, let's say around 400 p.m. Sound good? Dad asked with a face that had not a single worry. I honestly had to commend my dad. He truly was a carefree man. Why, yeah, sure. I'll get them on board. This is gonna be beyond intense, awkward. I thought to myself. I mean, I could do it myself, but I think it will be smoother if you do it. He laughed and rubbed his head. Haha, I'll make my best treats, my mom cheered. Do a great job, kid, and I'll introduce you to my new crew. My dad said while giving a sly smile. Crew? I questioned him. Well, I'm not a villain anymore, but I gotta have my own kind of muscle and crew out there keeping my turfs clean and eyes out there. I've had over 500 years to dig my roots deep into this city. Some of them have been uprooted, but many still run deep even till this day. I just use them to keep track of what goes on around here, and what with that USJ incident work, and I have some FUUUUUN. My dad's eyes glowed red and it made me shiver quite a bit. Honey, please no murder. My mom said with a rather annoyed look and tone. Hey, don't look at me. Bearhead and Volcano are the ones that get carried away at times. Wait, Bearhead. Volcano. As in Bearhead, one of the wild villains, and Volcano, leader of the Volcano Thieves. I had heard of these villains in news reports and they were no jokes. They were serious threats, hence why they avoided capture for so long. Yes, they work for me now, and of course they dropped all their villainous plans because, well, you can guess why, and well, joined me. Dad winked. Curator, Zookeeper, Bearhead, Volcano, Dusty Ash and Gus Boy. The wild villains and the Volcano Thieves. Under my reins. Ha, I'm quite the smooth talker. My dad bragged. Although, yeah, smooth talker. My mom rolled her eyes. Yeah, there it is. I love Dad, but it's more likely he scared them into compliance. And are you implying something? Dad crossed his arms, pretending to look offended. Oh yes, you surely convinced 6 hardened criminals to join you and become anti-heroes. Mom again rolled her eyes while tapping her foot. Anti-villains at best, but yes, I'm rather persuasive. Ha, I'm hurt, honeybee, you make it sound like I did something bad to them. Dad chuckled. Haha, right. I'll leave it at that, darling. Mom let out a light giggle as she walked over and pecked Dad's cheek. Thanks, honey bunny. Anyways, Izuku, if you're ever looking for a specific quirk, just let me know. I probably have it stored here. Dad smiled. Thanks, Dad, I'll certainly keep that in mind. Now excuse me please, I have to plan how I'm to do this. Like seriously, how am I going to do this? Ha, good luck, honey, and remember, no pressure. Mom reassured me. Yeah, none at all. If you can't do it, then I'll set it up. So yeah, no pressure. Dad also chipped in. Thank you too. Phew, this is gonna be something. Oh boy, no one's POV. With Minoru. Minoru had been through a massive 5-hour-long physical training session in his room. This was something he started doing to counteract his bad impulses when they hit when he was at home. Doing this actually did help him take his mind off it, and also it was something productive to do as well. However, this session dragged out longer than usual. There was a lot on his mind. Izuku, controlling his power, the festival, what happened at the USJ, what he'll have to say to his mother when she eventually finds out about his new power. There was just so much to think and consider that he kinda just forgot to stop training after his little urge was pushed out his head. Afterwards, he decided to take a small rest on his bed and get back to training, but he had realized just how tired he was as he fell asleep pretty much instantly upon lying back on his bed. As the darkness of sleep overtook him as quickly as it did, his eyes quickly opened again. But he wasn't in his room this time or even on his bed. He was in this black void with a white snow-like ground. What the fuck? Minoru looked around the void confusedly and curiously. Was this a dream? Had to be. Okay, well, as lovely as this look, I am not feeling this dream. Okay, just close my eyes and wake up. The boy began to close his eyes, hoping to wake up. Oh boy, aren't you impatient? An adult woman's voice spoke out to Minoru in the blackness of the void. Minoru looked around, trying to locate the voice. Right here, little man. A figure emerged from the blackness in front of Minoru. It was a beautiful woman with a fairly tall, slender but muscular build. She was fair-skinned and had a small mole below her bottom lip, centered to the right. She had sharp and intelligent-looking eyes with long, pretty eyelashes. Her hair was dark and straight, kept shoulder-length with the exception of a clump of short bangs hanging above her forehead, and had it styled in a half-down bun. Her outfit consisted of a dark, sleeveless bodysuit with a high collar, yellow elbow-length gloves, and white knee-high boots. Around her waist was a belt with an angular golden buckle, a small cape attached around the back which hung down to her knees, and over her shoulders was a longer white cape buttoned to the shoulders of her bodysuit. Finally, we meet face to face. The mystery woman smiled widely at Minoru. It kinda reminded him of All Might's smile. Hello. Minoru tilted his head, trying to figure out why this woman seemed so familiar. He'd never seen her ever in his life, but somehow he felt close to her. Hello, 9th wielder of One for All. I am Nana Shamira, the 7th user of One for All and All Might's teacher Hair Runt. Nana smiled and winked at the boy, who was utterly bewildered by this sudden information. Big boss. I must be dreaming. Minoru was questioning the likelihood of this actually being real. No, you're not dreaming. This is real. This place exists within the core of One for All. This place is connected to One for All, and since you're housing the power, it's connected to you. I decided to bring you here while you were dozing off. I really wanted to meet you face to face, Minda. See my own people swell. People, and I gotta say, for a little guy like you sure are clever. That energy best attack you pulled off with the energy within One for All. Damn kid, none of the other users or even All Might thought of that good stuff. Nana chuckled and praised the boy. She sure seemed cheerful and outgoing. Haha, well thanks lady. I just like to experiment. Minoru chuckled a bit, kinda taking a liking to Nana already. Hahaha, Toshinori really found an interesting one. I can tell you've made a lot of mistakes, but however it just means you have a lot to learn and grow from. Also, it's all humbled you, I can see. The older woman smiled. Yeah, I got a lot to learn, but hey, learning has been pretty fun thus far. Hey, bring on the lessons. Minoru shoved his hands into his pockets. Hahaha, well, wish granted, cause guess what? I'm gonna be giving you lessons and tips and even teach you a few moves of mine. Nana said to Minoru. Why, serious? Radical, I'm going to be trained by a ghost, check that off my bucket list. Minoru chuckled. PFFFF, hahaha, oh man, you are hilarious. Ahem, listen up bucko. Me and the others have been watching you ever since you inherited One for All. We've been watching through your eyes and we gotta say, you've really been on the ball. You're really pushing to keep that faith All Might has in you. Nana commended the boy's efforts. Well, yeah, after all, I didn't really have the best of starts with him when our training first started. It was a long and grueling road. Boss had to punish and chew me out several times due to my bad habits and all. It even got to a point where me and him actually got into an argument, and he was just a few inches away from dumping me as a pupil, but luckily we made up. Had a real heart-to-heart moment and well patched things up. Got to know each other better, and well, I started doing better. More motivated than ever, and here I am now. Minoru smirked and held out his arms as if presenting his new reworked self. Hahaha, sounds real heartwarming, kiddo. The heart is where true understanding and true healing stems from. Always let your heart guide you. Never let doubts or worries throw off your aim. Always stay true and remember your origins. Nana lectured the boy. My origins? The young lad tilted his head, trying to comprehend her words. Yes, every hero has an origin story. Where they began, where they traveled, how they struggled, learned, grew, and how all their experiences concluded to form them into the person they were today. Nana explained to the young boy. Should you ever lose your way, Minda, think of how you've struggled to be better, how much you've given to get here, and the people who believed in you. Even if it's just one person or it was just you believing in yourself. Always remember and you'll find your path again. The female heroine flashed a big old grin. Minoru was touched by her words, the way she spoke. It just shook his very being. Yes ma'am, you got it, haha, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Minoru smiled and thanked his soon-to-be other master. No problem. Anyways, like I said, we've been watching, and in case you're wondering who I mean by we, I mean the other past users of One for All. They're here too, but we agreed on letting you meet us all one at a time. So, you'll have to wait to meet the rest. Nana said, crossing her arms. Oh well that's okay I guess. You seem pretty cool so I don't mind, said the boy. Great, oop. Yeah, I kinda need to wrap this up quick. So listen kid, I'm gonna be coaching you from here on in spirit. Literally. So if you see a ghostly image of me pop into existence or hear my voice in your head, don't worry. You're not going crazy, and only you and maybe Toshinori can see or hear me. Nana quickly said. Okay, well that's going to take some getting used to. Minoru looked kinda nervous at the thought. Ha ha ha, I'll give you tips, pointers, show you some radical skills, and once you prove yourself to me, not only will you get to meet another user so they can teach you, next I'll bestow upon you a special gift. Something very close to me. Nana opened her palm and held out a light purple glowing star in it. Minoru looked in awe at the shimmering light in her hand. What is it? Minoru questioned as curiosity took over him. That's a surprise. So work hard and give a real good show, kid. I'll be watching. Bye, yai. Nana waved goodbye to the young boy as the darkness of the void slowly engulfed them both. Minoru wanted to ask her something, but before he could it was already over and he awoke in his bed. Huff. Okay, we've got a lot to talk about later. All Boss Minoru sighed and laid back in his bed. He was still debating whether or not that was real. He's strongly leaning toward yes because it felt so real and she felt so real. All Might had never brought up his Nana before. He knew he had a master but he never described them or named them. However, he'd settle this by talking to All Might tomorrow, and if he confirms that the woman he spoke to was his master, then it was without question real. He was kinda hoping it was because he won't lie. He already wanted to talk to her again. She was pretty radical to him. He was really looking forward to this. However, he wasn't asleep for that long and was still very tired, so with no other things to do and being home alone, he just decided to drift back to sleep. He really needed the rest because there was so much more to come. With Stain. Stain was in his usual gear, just standing on a rooftop of a building gazing out over the city. The sun was setting quickly and soon night would fall. This time to clean the streets of the scum that festers beneath the cracks of them. I wonder how Izuku is doing. Maybe I should call him while I have the chance. To be honest, he had Izuku on his mind for a little bit now. The boys really grew on him, he couldn't deny. Just as Stain reached into his pocket to grab his phone, he felt a presence behind him. He quickly grabbed one of his throwing knives and stayed ready to throw. He bothered not to look back. Who goes there? Stain spoke out to the unknown person. Well, that's an interesting look, Stain. Or should I say Stendhal. How's the nose? A deep, burly and gruff voice rang from behind Stain. His lips couldn't help my frown slightly and lead to smile. Well, isn't this an unexpected surprise? Well, I sliced it off, so I'd say fine. How kind of you to ask, Knuckle Duster. Stain slowly turned while unsheathing his katana.